Previously, Gao Peng tells Tang Tang to let Dummy help her. She agrees and orders Dummy to stand behind her. Then she tells Gao Peng to be alert to his surroundings. Feng Zhu said they also helping, but Tang Tang responded that they'll only mess things up. Feng Zhu sadly tells her that she can't be biased. She let go of Softy and Softy changes its form to combat form while she orders it to test the spider out. Softy run toward the spider and jump to the spider's body to reach the spider's top. Then Softy attacked the spider using its claws. Feng Zhu said Softy claws are very sharp, but Tang Tang said it isn't enough because they are only flesh wounds to the spider and didn't injure any of its organs. Then Japalura grabs one of the spider's legs using its tongue. Then Japalura pulled it, which made the spider fall to the ground, but it gets up faster and attacked Softy, but Softy avoided it. Then the spider attacked Softy multiple times using its web. Fortunately, Softy avoided it faster. Gao Peng said they can't go on like that. Although the female spider can't harm Softy, they're unable to launch any effective attacks on it either. Then Gao Peng ordered Dummy to use his blood thread heart. Dummy followed Gao Peng and used his blood thread heart, which made the female spider have a heart attack. But the female spider immediately recover, which made Gao Peng shocked because Dummy blood heart thread lose effectiveness so soon. But Gao Peng knows that battling a monster of a higher tier is pushing it, and they'll just need to stall the female spider as long as they can. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, which made Gao Peng wonder if there was an earthquake. Then the earthworms come out under the ground and bite off one of the female spider legs. Feng Zhu excitedly said the promotion of the Shachuaman man-eating earthworm is a success. Gao Peng look at the earthworm and knows that the earthworm is different from the female spider. The monster was named Shachuaman man-eating earthworm lord and it was level 41. The earthworm grade is excellent and its attribute is earth. Also, its weakness is a fire type. The earthworm was going to attack the spider, which made Feng Zhu shocked while wondering why must the earthworm duke it out with the spider. The spider is a pseudo-lord that underwent a failed evolution, and its potential is practically zero. Feng Zhu also thinks that the earthworm should go and have a good talk with the desert ruler instead. Only that way can military reap the spoils. Suddenly the earthworm dig a tunnel, which made Feng Zhu realizes that the earthworm dig a tunnel because it wanted to escape from it. The female spider angrily digs the tunnel where the earthworm escaped. Gao Peng tells Feng Zhu that the female spider caused the tunnel to collapse in its rage, and now, the female spider had lost all trace of the giant earthworm. Feng Zhu tells Gao Peng is right and seems like their mission today was a success. Lai interrupted Gao Peng and Feng Zhu's happy conversation when he called Feng Zhu to look at the spider because it was acting weird. When they look at the female spider, it circles continuously. Lai said the female spider has been going in circles for a while now. Then he asks if the female spider had gone crazy because its food has escaped. Tang Tang responded that the female spider expended a lot of energy during the fight, so it must be hungry and it's purposefully gathering the earthworms together. When the female spider has done collecting the small earthworms, it used its web to trap the earthworms. Then the female spider uses one of its legs to grab the web with earthworms and eat it. Gao Peng sickly asks why the female spider looked like it's eating soybean paste noodle, which made Lai, Qin, and Feng Zhu look at him in disgust. Gao Peng asks why they're looking at him. Then Gao Peng looked at Tang Tang and said the female spider's injuries aren't severe, but he think they weren't able to catch it. Tang Tang tells Gao Peng to relax because he hasn't seen anything yet. Suddenly Softy screamed, which made its body release a black aura. Then Softy attacked and cut the female spider's leg fast, which made the spider shocked. Then behind the female spider, Japalura showed up and then released smoke from its mouth. Then Japalura bite off one of the spider's legs, which made the female spider scream in anger. Then the female spider attacked Softy, who got a light injury, and Japalura that got a mild injury. Gao Peng shouted at Tang Tang to tell her that the female spider is still very strong and they should play the long game instead. But Tang Tang just smile and tells Gao Peng not to worry because the female spider now can't run away. Suddenly Gao Peng noticed something in the sky. Then the bird landed on the ground, which made Gao Peng shocked to see a bird-type lord. The bird monster named is Blood-Eye Bearded Vulture, extremely strong. It was level 42 Lord tier and its grade is normal. The bird's condition is healthy and calm, and its abilities are a Power of Wind level 3 and Strengthened Stomach level 2. The bird's attribute is wind and its weaknesses are 1. Electric type 2, Fire type 3, Metal type and 4, Dark type. Also, the requirements for promotion to it excellent grade are 1. Dark Evolution 2, Divine Evolution 3, Blood Evolution and more. Feng Zhu tells everyone to be careful because he thinks the bird lord tier was probably attracted by the man-eating worm and the pseudo lord female spider is distracting it now. Feng Zhu also said as long as they don't provoke it, there won't be any danger. The bird bowed to the enemy, which made Feng Zhu shocked and asked why it was bowing its head instead of attacking the female spider, and that was against the nature of birds. Tang Tang responded that the bird is mourning for the monster, which made Feng Zhu confused. Gao Peng asks Tang Tang why it's mourning. Tang Tang responded that it watched too many movies and she thinks it was Priest, and then there was V for Vendetta and Hannibal. She said there were too many that she can't remember. Lai asks Tang Tang if the bird type Lord Tyr is her monster. Tang Tang just responded that ladies like her need to have some self-defense methods when they're outside. Gao Peng wonders what kind of self-defense method is that, and he thinks he wouldn't be surprised if Tang Tang told him that his grandfather's familiar is a dragon. The bird looked at the spider, which made the female spider shakes in fear. Then the bird shakes its head. Tang Tang called her beast rascal because of its bad habit. Gao Peng asks her what bad habit, while the three-man behind them was listening carefully because it is a rare Lord Tyr familiar, and they want to learn about its habits. Tang Tang responded that her beast thinks the female spider is a scavenger and can only eat carrion instead of hunting prey, so it's adjusting its mentality right now, which made the three-man shocked and wonder if the bird can adjust its mentality. Then Tang Tang tells his beast that the female spider isn't for him to eat. He just need to wound it severely and bring it back with them, which made the bird shocked. Then it exhales in relief, then ready itself to jump. The bird jumps high into the sky very fast and flies back very fast to attack the female spider, who currently shaking in fear. The bird attacked the spider and landed on the ground. Then the bird looks at them while licking the blood on its face. Feng Zhu said the pseudo-lord was conquered too easily. Then Tang Tang ordered her bird to cut the spider leg's tendons. The bird looks at its wings and put an aura around its feather, then cut the female spider's leg tendons. Tang Tang happily said the female spider can't escape now. Then Feng Zhu tells Tang Tang that her familiar is really strong. Gao Peng looked at Feng Zhu and said they'll be taking the female spider with them. Feng Zhu immediately agrees. Then Lai asks Feng Zhu if their mission is accomplished. Feng Zhu, who is still shocked, said he thinks so. After their mission, at Gao Peng's villa, Gao Peng was looking at a heavily injured and mobility impaired female spider. The current data of the spider monster's name is a horrifying violent female spider in pseudo-lord, and the required ingredients to promote it to lord are 0.5 kilograms of perfect stone, earth core, and flowing earth marrow serum. Gao Peng said there's only one option in the spider grade promotion column, which means that it only has one option to promote, and maybe because it lost a significant amount of potential, its evolution path is lacking. Also, Gao Peng said he had never heard of the ingredients that the female spider needed before, and it looks like the female spider won't be of any use to him. Then he asks Tang Tang if she wants the female spider. Tang Tang responded he won't need a spider because it was so damn ugly, and if you don't like it, he should give it to his grandfather as a test subject. Stripey heard Tang Tang words, which made Stripey shake in fear and sad. Tang Tang patted Stripey head and said she wasn't talking about him and their Stripey is the best. Gao Peng walked toward his door and asked her if she wanted to stay for dinner because it was already so late. Tang Tang responded maybe next time because she still need to find somebody to settle the female spider. Gao Peng opened his door. Suddenly Sad Dazai was flying toward Gao Peng, which made Gao Peng shocked and asked what was wrong. Then Dazai circled around Gao Peng while saying he wants to eat pork ribs. Gao Peng said there are no pork ribs left at home, and he asked Dazai if he thinks he can create pork ribs out of thin air. Suddenly Dazai had an idea. Then Dazai pointed to Dummy, who currently watching TV. Gao Peng and Dazai said it was interesting. Then Gao Peng prepared a large pot with boiling soup. Then he called Dummy, who had just done watching TV. Dummy walks toward Gao Peng while asking if the pot is something delicious that Gao Peng prepared for him. Dummy happily said although he's just a skeleton and can't eat anything, is happy that Gao Peng still didn't forget him. In the end, Dummy was sad inside the pot while Gao Peng was holding a bowl and said the soup doesn't taste bad and the temperature level is nothing to Dummy, which means he won't need to buy ingredients for cooking pork ribs soup anymore. Gao Peng happily carried the small pot of soup toward Happy Dazai, Stripey, and Flamey, while behind him were silly comforting sulking Dummy. Gao Peng happily looks at his house window glass and thinks that his new journey is about to begin in Yuzhou. The next day, Gao Peng was sleeping in the airplane. Then the flight attendant woke him up to announce that they were about to land in Yuzhou. Gao Peng woke up and looked at the airplane window, then said they'd arrived. At Yuzhou airport, Tang Tang was on the phone saying she understands and she'll talk to the person on the other line later. While Gao Peng realized that the Yuzhou airport doesn't look any different than the airport in Chang'an, only that the technology in Yuzhou is better. Tang Tang tells Gao Peng that his grandfather is caught up with something and can't come pick them up, but his grandfather has already made arrangements with the company so they can head straight over there. Gao Peng asks if did something happen. Tang Tang responded to Gao Peng that he shouldn't worry because it was nothing serious. Meanwhile, somewhere in the ocean, Jai Hyun angrily said the trivial monster is the one that interrupted his reunion with his grandson. Suddenly, the monster showed itself ready to attack them, while the man beside Jai Hyun tells him that it was dangerous there and they should take cover. But Jai Hyun just orders White to finish the monster fast because he still needs to go meet his grandson. Then suddenly the dragon named White appear and bite the monster in the ocean, which made a fog around the boat. Then White stand up behind the boat and fog which made them see how big it is. The monster of the ocean was floating above the water dead. Then the military are taking the corpse of the monster, then they call the blue monkey team. The monkey holds a hook and then jumps to the water with it. Then the monkey hooks it to the monster. The monkey raised its hand, that means their task is completed, then the military just needed to drag the monster up. On the other hand, the militaries were looking at the scene and said that dragging the monster was the only thing they can see because there was a mysterious fog every time. And that's why they can't see the scene of the battle. The military chief said that Jai Hyun sure is sneaky, which made the military behind him shocked. Meanwhile, in the Southern Sky Group, Tang Tang showed her card to the guard and the guard pointed to the way and explained that there was a large lounge for familiars on the left. While Gao Peng was looking at the monster named White Demon Plant level 34 beside the guard while thinking it was a waste to put the Lord Tier Plant familiar on guard duty. Tang Tang tells Gao Peng that they should go and they'll wait inside. Also, she said Gao Peng should treat the building as his home. Gao Peng agrees, and suddenly the girl behind them laughs. Tang Tang angrily asked the girl why she was laughing. The girl apologized in a mocking way and called Gao Peng a country boy, while the man with her asks why she's talking to them and who knows where they came from. Also, they need to hurry up because they need to meet an important person today. Gao Peng looked at her and said looks like they don't recognize her and he guessed she'll need to work harder. Tang Tang awkwardly responded that she had been in Chang'an for 2 years. Then Tang Tang called the man Old Han, which made the man with disrespectful women wonder why they know Secretary Han. Secretary Han walked toward Gao Peng and said Jai Hyun is back and he was waiting for them on the top floor. Secretary Han said he'll show him the way, then Gao Peng thanked him. The man before heard the conversation and realized that there was only one Jai Hyun in the Southern Sky Group. Then Gao Peng walked past to the girl who called him country boy while smiling, which made the woman shocked. The woman called Gao Peng a rude little rascal, while Gao Peng explains that his greatest strength is that he won't hold grudges because he takes revenge on the spot, which made Tang Tang and Secretary Han laugh. Then they enter the elevator. Gao Peng arrived at his grandfather's office and his grandfather greeted him. Gao Peng happily saw his grandfather while Stripey is shaking in fear behind him. Secretary Han tells Jai Hyun that he'll arrange Tang Tang's accommodation first, then they left. Gao Peng asks his grandfather if there is something he wants to tell him. Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng that before his term starts, he'll temporarily work for the Southern Sky Group. Gao Peng was shocked and asked why it was too soon. Jai Hyun responded that he's already old and perhaps an accident might befall on him one day. The Southern Sky Group is going to be his in the future, so he must learn how to manage the group quickly. Gao Peng was shocked, which made Jai Hyun wonder if he was too harsh because Gao Peng is still just a high schooler after all. Then he tells Gao Peng to go to the Human Resources Department. Jai Hyun also said that even if Gao Peng is his grandson, Gao Peng has to start from the bottom after joining the company. First, he needs to head to the Human Resources Department and stay there for 2 days. After that, he'll look for a chance to transfer him to the Research Department, and they'll build a lab, especially for him. Then he asks Gao Peng if he needs him to temporarily hide his identity. Gao Peng asks why hides his identity. Jai Hyun responded that he heard that young people nowadays like to play the pig to eat the tiger. Gao Peng said that's for other people and he doesn't have such a disgusting interest. Jai Hyun laughed and said no wonder Gao Peng is his grandson because Gao Peng doesn't have a type of disgusting habit, which made Gao Peng wonder if his grandfather read too many novels. Secretary knocked on Jai Hyun's office door and said the arrangements are done. Then Jai Hyun seriously tells Gao Peng to go on and Secretary Han will show him a different kind of battlefield. Secretary Han and Gao Peng proceed to walk toward the Human Resources Department. Suddenly Gao Peng noticed someone, which made Secretary Han ask Gao Peng what was wrong. Gao Peng just smiled and responded nothing. Then he said he just met some familiar faces. Secretary Han introduced Gao Peng to the head of their marketing department named Cao Zhang. Cao bowed to Gao Peng and said that it was presumptuous of him on their first meeting. Gao Peng walked toward Cao and said Cao must be joking and that it was just a small matter, while Gao Peng thought that Cao, the head of the department, bowing and apologizing to a newcomer is so uncool, and he thinks Cao sacrificed a bit of ego and put him in an awkward position. Cao is sure is a genius. Cao said is sure Gao Peng has a lot of things to attend to, so he won't be bothering him any longer. Then he asks Gao Peng to have a meal with him next time. Then he left. Secretary Han asks Gao Peng what the matter is between him and Cao. Gao Peng responded that it was only a small matter and Cao is just making a big deal about it. But Cao putting himself down in public to a brat like him without harboring any negative emotion. Then he asks Secretary Han if Cao is that good at controlling his emotion or if is Cao actually that calm. Secretary Han held Gao Peng's shoulder and responded that it was for him to find out, but with the stunt department head Gao pilled off, it'll be tiring for him to continue working in the company. Then Secretary Han asks Gao Peng if he wants to go to Beihai District instead and handle the recruitment there. Then Secretary Han, Gao Peng beasts, and Gao Peng proceed to go to Beihai District. While in the car, Secretary Han tells Gao Peng that the Beihai District is one of the districts in Yuzhou that's lacking economic development. Gao Peng asks how it lacking. Secretary Han responded that many people died there during the cataclysm and the social structure changed drastically as a result. The residents remaining are those who can't adapt to change. Gao Peng asked why the place they currently in is called Beihai. Secretary Han responded that it was because the people who were looking for a job there came from all sorts of professions and industries before the cataclysm. Some residents were unwilling to resign themselves to their situation, so they worked hard and left the place. Their car stopped in the building while Secretary Han said they arrived. They go outside the car, then Secretary Han pointed into the building and tell Gao Peng that it was their Beihai District branch and the branch is responsible for the human resources management in the district. Suddenly Gao Peng looked to his side and saw people in the street sleeping and just using their phones. Then he asked Secretary Han why the people were there. Secretary Han said the place is called Beihai District's Recruitment Hall and the people inside are Beihai's best, which made Gao Peng confused and asks why people called Beihai's best. Secretary Han responded that it was sarcasm and that many people there have either lost their loved ones, had their houses destroyed, or are unwilling to sign the blood contract. The people there think the blood contract is a curse from the devil and are just trying to get by, and the Beihai's best have no hope for the future. Then Secretary Han pointed to the person in front of the building and tells Gao Peng it's time to acquaint himself with his new colleagues. Then Secretary Han introduced the section chief named Wang from the Human Resources Management HQ and the branch manager Zhu. Gao Peng tells Wang to call him by his position because they're all colleagues, and Wang agrees immediately. Then Secretary Han walked toward the car and tells Gao Peng that it is a bit messy in there, but the management is relatively easier, and it's a good place to develop one's skills. Then Secretary Han said Jai Huan gave him other orders, so he'll be going now and Gao Peng should call him anytime. Gao Peng faces Wang and then asks Wang to give him a tour. Wang immediately agrees while calling Gao Peng young master, which made Gao Peng pissed. After a few hours, Gao Peng and Wang arrived at the gym. Wang called Gao Peng young master and explained that the place they just visited is the branch's warehouse, and the place they were currently in was their training center for familiars. Gao Peng look at Wang and order Wang to call him head Gao Peng, and every time he calls him by the wrong name his payment will be deducted. Immediately Wang agreed and called Gao Peng head Gao. Then Gao Peng called Wang wily old fox. Gao Peng asks Wang if every branch has such equipment. Wang responded yes and said basically every branch has the equipment, but no one uses it. Then Wang said those people in the Department of Security and the Central Security Bureau have more advanced and luxurious training venues and they go to the forest regularly for field training too. Gao Peng smiled and tells Wang that he can go now, and he said is for the recruitment of workers in Beihai District. But before Gao Peng can finish his words, Wang tells Gao Peng to rest assured because there are subordinates who will report to him about what's happening and he only needs to worry about the specific recruitments and transfer of personnel. Also, there won't be many affairs that need his intervention. Then Wang bowed and said he won't bother Gao Peng any longer, then left. Gao Peng look and hold one of the types of equipment and thinks no one uses the equipment, then he wonders where the tears from the equipment come from. Gao Peng called Flamey to come while thinking that Flamey is definitely a young familiar that's destined for the Lord tier. Its growth is fast and it has already reached level 20. And once Flamey is promoted to the commander tier, it'll be an incredible combat power and it'll get rid of his problem of not having a flying type familiar. Gao Peng look at Fat Flamey, then asks it if it can still fly. Then Gao Peng points to the rings and tells Flamey to try flying for a bit and fly through the rings because he wants to see how much agility Flamey has left. Flamey started to fly toward the ring. Gao Peng said Flamey acceleration is top-notch among flying type familiars of that level. But Flamey flew toward the ring body instead, which made the ring break and Flamey landed on the ground, bounced twice, and got dizzy, which made Gao Peng trying not to laugh and dummy confused. Then Gao Peng walked toward Flamey and patted it while comforting it and saying that it was fine and he shouldn't be discouraged because he need to believe in himself and they will try something easier. Then Flamey tried to fly inside the ring again while Gao Peng cheered him, but Flamey hit the ring again and was thrown back. Then Flamey tried again and he perfectly got inside of the 3 rings. Flamey was happy, but suddenly he collapsed because of the training. Gao Peng disappointedly wonders what was happening to the result of harsh training and natural talent. Suddenly Flamey woke up and its data said Flamey level increased to level 21. Then Flamey flew to the sky happily, while Gao Peng said he didn't expect Flamey's promotion to cause such a big spectacle. In the data, Flamey monster named Flaming Red Crane in a growth period, and it was level 21. Its monster grade is perfect and its current grade will demote to an excellent grade upon reaching Lord tier. Flamey's attribute is fire and its ability is pyrokinesis level 1. Flamey's special characteristic is fire feathers. It has a passive ability that means resistance against fire is greatly increased. Active ability that means feathers can detach from the body and fly toward the enemy. The feathers will ignite after combining with the elements in the air and cause an explosion. Gao Peng said Flamey both monster ability and special characteristic has been unlocked. The first passive ability is easy to understand, but he is not too sure about the active ability. Gao Peng noticed that the blast doesn't come from the feather itself, but it acted as a spark to ignite the elements in the air to cause an explosion. Gao Peng knows that the blast should be powerful and the only downside is the ability would use up Flamey's feathers. Gao Peng also imagined Flamey without feathers if the ability is used too often. Then he shouted Flamey if Flamey know that the form he was in when he got promoted will be his permanent form, which made Flamey shocked. Gao Peng laughed and said is joking. Then he looked at Dummy who currently working out and tell it that they should go. Dummy let go of the dumbbell and walks toward Gao Peng who is currently being shouted at by angry Flamey. The night comes. At the training center for familiars, one of the wall to the training center shake. Then some kid comes out of it with his familiar. The kid gives some equipment to his beast while telling it that they'll practice that equipment today. Suddenly a big shadow appeared behind them and someone asked how long have they been coming there. The kid faced Dummy and Gao Peng and responded that he had been going there for half a year. Then the kid apologized and said he know it was wrong, but before the kid can finish his words, Gao Peng said they should forget about it, but he ordered the kid to don't come through the hole in the future. The kid lowers his head sadly and apologizes to Gao Peng for using his equipment. Then the kid said thank you. Then the kid started to walk away while Gao Peng realizes that seems not everyone there is muddling through life, and there are still some who yearn for the light despite being born in hell. Then Gao Peng tells the kid to stop walking. Gao Peng tells the kid to come through the front door next time and that he'll have someone get the kid an identity card, which made the kid happy. Gao Peng started walking while telling the kid to come there tomorrow morning, and if someone stops him, he should say that Gao Peng told him to come. The kid bowed and said he understand. The next day, in the training center, Gao Peng and Flamey were training. Then Wang with a kid beside him from last night tells Gao Peng that the boy he mentioned had arrived and he has already made an identity card for him. Then Gao Peng walked toward the kid and asks what the kid's name was. The kid responded his name is Lai Junzong. Then Gao Peng pointed something behind him and tells Junzong that there was a shower room there and that Junzong should wash his familiar first, and then he can start training, which made Junzong very happy and agree. Junzong and his familiar ran toward the shower room, while Gao Peng looked at Junzong beast data. Junzong's familiar monster name is a blood scavenger rat in a heavy metal variant. It was level 4 with a status of mild injury and exhausted. The rat grade is excellent and its attribute is gold. Also, the rat weaknesses are 1. Fire type and 2. Light type. Wang said the kid's lucky to have picked up a monster from the sewers and to have made it listen to him. If it wasn't for the rat, a young orphan kid like Junzong wouldn't have been able to survive. Gao Peng asks Wang what he means by sewers. Wang responded that there are a lot of monsters in the sewers there in Beihai, and they live off of trash. Gao Peng angrily asks why did they just leave the monster alone and why they let the monster reproduce down in the sewer without a care in the world. Wang responded that in the beginning, the monsters came up above ground, but after a few of them were killed by the monster trainers, they just hid underground. Then Gao Peng imagined the rats crawling in the Beihai. Wang also said he doesn't know how other base cities take care of the monster, but there's nothing to worry about in Yuzhu City because Jai Huan has a familiar that lives in the sewers, and its food source is the monsters living down there. Gao Peng thinks it was interesting that humans control the light of the city while the monsters occupy the shadow, stealing the garbage and waste thrown away by the humans, and it was completely different from the situation in Chang'an City. Suddenly Junzong tells Gao Peng that there are a lot of monsters down the sewer, so people from the city are afraid of going there, and the last time he went down there was because he was really hungry. Then he met his injured little blood rat. Junzong also said his rat is very agile and it dodges the other monsters and finds food for him. Gao Peng realizes that the scavenger rat is the one feeding Junzong. Then Gao Peng tells Wang that their factories have expanded recently, but the recruitment for workers isn't going too well. Wang asks Gao what he's saying. Suddenly Gao Peng look at Junzong and ask if Junzong wants to work for him. Then Gao Peng tells Junzong that he's young, so his salary will be lower than others, but they provide food and shelter, also he'll be able to use the training center for free after work, which made Junzong shocked. Junzong happily agrees and thanks Gao Peng while Gao Peng thinks he is just too soft-hearted. The night comes at dormitory Gao Peng's room. Gao Peng was shocked to see Dazai's level increase to level 25 because he just asked his grandfather to look after for Dazai for the day. Also, he wonders if his grandfather feeds Stripey some kind of top-tier ingredient. Gao Peng looked at Dazai and Stripey and said Dazai and Stripey are still far from reaching the peak of their potential, so their current leveling is in a rapid growth period. But skipping levels is too much. Then he wonders if he should drop his familiars more often to his grandfather. Then Gao Peng look at Silly while thinking even Silly, who has always played a minor role, has been promoted to level 20, but it's being restricted by its grade so it wasn't able to break through to the commander tier. Gao Peng also remembers Silly has a wood-type healing attribute after evolving into a wood spirit jellyfish, and he should find a lab rat to test it out. Half an hour later, Silly tried to heal the injured rat. Gao Peng said Silly healing effect is way too weak, and that even if Silly healed the rat slowly, a small wound should be able to heal by itself, but Silly wasted that much time only to heal a third of it. Suddenly Silly gets something to its inventory. Then Silly happily gets juice, which made Gao Peng kneel to the ground while saying he gave up and wondering how weak Silly's healing ability. But more importantly, Silly looks so proud of itself. Gao Peng angrily stand up and shouted that it must be because the level isn't high enough, and he heard that most of the materials he asked his grandfather to collect are ready. Gao Peng also said when he gets back, Silly will be strengthened again, and it'll be useful on the battlefield once its level goes up, while behind him Silly just happily dances. Then Gao Peng noticed Dummy sitting and looking at the glass window. Gao Peng approached Dummy and asked it what's wrong. Dummy responded that he want to go back because he miss his daughter, which made Gao Peng shocked, and said he didn't know Dummy was already a father ape. Then Gao Peng tells Dummy not to worry because tomorrow they'll visit his hometown. The next day, Gao Peng and his familiars go to the Red Sand River Chuanshu. Gao Peng thinks the ships there are rather daring because a small ship they are currently in dares to sail along the river so boldly. Then Gao Peng asks the man controlling the ship if there's a monster below the river. The man responded yes, but he tells Gao Peng not to worry because all their ships there have one of the King Red Carp's scales attached to the bottom, and as long as they don't attack any of the monsters, they won't attack them. The King Red Carp is very nice and all they need to do is offer it some monsters as a tribute and it'll reward them with some of its scales. Its scales can protect them from being attacked by monsters while they sail along the river. Gao Peng looked at the man while thinking that he never heard anything like that before, but he was not surprised if any news of the government being unable to protect its citizens and forcing them to resort to worshipping monsters for protection got out, the government's reputation would be tarnished. Gao Peng looked at the forest beside the river while thinking that in order to maintain the security of a base city, they'd need at least a Lord tier familiar or monster. Yuzhuo and Chang'an both have the best monster trainers protecting their places, so they don't have to worry about a monster invasion from the surrounding forests. But it's different for a small base city. The man pointed to the forest and said they'd arrived. Gao Peng looked at Dummy and asked if he was familiar with the place while Dummy looks at the forest. Dummy looks at one side of the forest and remembers that he was happily looking at his wife and daughter while the other red apes are chatting. Suddenly the net falls from above and traps him. Dummy signs to his wife and kids to run away. On the other hand, Dummy was checking the land while Gao Peng was sitting on Stripey asking Dummy if that was the trace his family left behind. Dummy looked at Gao Peng and responded that the trace is from a few months ago. Gao Peng tell Dummy it was alright and that maybe they moved elsewhere. Suddenly Dummy hears something which made Gao Peng ask what's wrong. Then Dummy jumps somewhere while Gao Peng asks Stripey to follow Dummy. They ended up at the top of the falls, looking at the other apes showering in the falls. Gao Peng looked at sad Dummy while thinking it was his first time seeing Dummy so emotionally. Then Gao Peng tells Dummy to go and take a look because they're Dummy's family after all. Then Gao Peng reminds Dummy that Dummy is once the king of his tribe. Dummy looked at his body and said he can't go. Gao Peng wonders if it is because Dummy thinks he isn't a living being anymore. Gao Peng touches and tells Dummy that it's okay and he should take a look. Gao Peng also suggested that they can hide behind the trees so they don't disturb the other apes. Then Dummy and Gao Peng hide behind the tree near the apes while peeking at the tribe of apes. Dummy sadly looks at his daughter from afar and thinks what matters is his daughter happy. And he was useless because he was caught when his daughter was only 3 months old and couldn't be there to protect her. But Dummy said he still loves his daughter. Gao Peng looked at the crying Dummy while realizing that the skeleton can shed tears too. Then Gao Peng asks Dummy if Dummy wants to bring his daughter back with them, and Gao Peng assured Dummy that he can give his daughter the best possible life. Dummy looked at Gao Peng and responded that with him his daughter is not free, and in there she is free. Then Dummy held Gao Peng's shoulder and said with Gao Peng is very happy, which made Gao Peng shocked. Suddenly the forest shake, then Gao Peng shouted that it must be the hunters. Dummy angrily looks at his tribe and uses its skill ready to attack. 10 minutes earlier, the three men were setting up their equipment. The man asked his comrade named Lai, why are they going through such trouble to catch the Red River apes that aren't valuable monsters? Lai responded that Miss Zhu of the Zhu family has recently developed a taste for Red River ape hearts, and that's why they are offering a high price for the monsters. The market price is already tripled. The two men look at each other happily because the Zhu family triples the price. Lai pointed his gun at one ape while saying it had smooth and glossy fur that he can tell that its heart would definitely fetch a good price from just one look. Lai also said the apes are just a bunch of normal tier monsters and it's the shores of the Red Sand River, so there's practically no chance of running into any powerful monsters there. Then he said their hunting game begin. Lai shot the ape, but he misses and the ape was shocked. Lai angrily said he missed, then he tells his comrade that they need to upgrade their weapons after their hunting. Suddenly, one of his men shouted that they have a situation while looking at the bush behind him. Lai orders his beast to go into the bush, then the beast jumps to the bush while the other man orders his comrade to grab the things and hide in the trees. Suddenly, they heard something behind the bush, then something thrown out of the bush. When it landed on the ground, it was Lai's beast dead. Lai, who is currently on the branch of the tree, can't believe that his iron-backed wold is dead so fast. Then Dummy angrily pop out of the bush and did walk toward the shaken kid ape on the ground while the other ape tried to stop its mother to go near. The ape smelled Dummy, then it stand up and walk toward Dummy. Dummy lifts it up and puts it on his shoulder. On the other hand, in the tree, the other man said to Lai that they were doomed because the ghoul-type monster is on the same side as the Red River apes. Lai responded that they don't have weapons that can harm a commander-tier ghoul-type monster and they're trapped. But he said they shouldn't panic and they should wait and see. Suddenly Gao Peng pops out of the bush while sitting on Stripey. Lai said Gao Peng is a monster trainer and his familiar is also a commander tier, and they think there is no monster trainer who'd look the other way at the sight of a wild ghoul-type monster. The hunters think they were saved. Then Lai called Gao Peng to help them. Gao Peng angrily looks at the man while thinking he needs to give saving a scumbag like them some thought. Dummy patted his daughter's head and tells his daughter to not worry because he'll protect her. Gao Peng tells Dummy that he'll watch Dummy's daughter for him. Then Gao Peng ordered Da Zai and Flamey to protect Dummy's daughter, which Da Zai and Flamey did. The man shouted at Lai to say that the monster trainer is on the same side as that ghoul-type monster. Lai ordered his comrade to not be so loud. But Dummy angrily was walking toward them, which made the man scared. Then Dummy punched the tree in half, which made Lai fall to the ground. Lai holds his ribs in pain because he thinks his ribs are broken. Then Dummy walks toward Lai while holding Lai's comrades. Lai was shocked that both of his comrades were caught, then he tried to stand up to run. But Gao Peng noticed him and orders Stripey to use its spider web on Lai, which made Lai trapped on the ground. Gao Peng and Dummy stand in front of Lai while Lai was begging for his life and said his mother is already 70. And his father is 72. His older and younger brothers both died during the cataclysm, and right now there's only him in the family, and without him, his parents and his 13-years-old child will all starve to death. Then Lai said he can give them all the Red River apes they'd killed, and he said they're all humans. Then he begged Gao Peng to have mercy on them. Gao Peng asks why they killed the apes, and Gao Peng asks if they aren't catching the Red River apes to make them familiars. Lai shakingly responded that if it wasn't for the Zhu family's second daughter having a familiar that likes to eat the heart of the apes. Then Lai asks who would come to hunt the worthless monkeys. Gao Peng grabs Lai's shirt and angrily asks if they're slaughtering all the Red River apes just to appease the Zhu family's second daughter. Lai shakingly responded yes, because the Zhu family is one of the most powerful influences in Yuzhou City. Lai's comrade tells Gao Peng that it was all Lai's idea. And Lai's comrades also said Lai was the one who said they could mark up the price if they killed all of the Red River apes so that the other teams could not get their hands on them. Gao Peng just turned around. While walking away, Gao Peng tells Dummy that Dummy can take care of the three men as he sees fit, and they'll wait for him by the river. While Lai called Gao Peng and warned Gao Peng that nothing good will come out of opposing the Zhu family, and that if Gao Peng let go of him, he will deal with the Zhu family for him. Dummy called for the other apes, then he tells the apes that an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, before starting to walk away. The apes angrily look at Lai, which made Lai shake in fear while begging the apes to go away. A few minutes later, Gao Peng and his familiars were heading back, while Dummy is happy with his daughter. Gao Peng called his grandfather and said he don't think he did anything wrong. But why is he feeling down? Jai Huan asks Gao Peng if he regrets it, and Gao Peng responded he don't know. Jai Huan changed the question and asked Gao Peng if he were given another chance, would he stop his familiar? Gao Peng responded no. Jai Huan said the answer is right there, and he called Gao Peng a faker. Then Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng to stick true to his belief and do what he wants to do because in the outside world, he won't lose by being a bit more ruthless, and Jai Hyun said he'd rather see others lose than see Gao Peng lose to them. As for the remaining Red River apes, Jai Hyun said he'll have someone bring them back to Yuzhu and provide land for them to live. As long as there is demand from the Zhu family, there will be countless poachers. Then Jai Hyun said is busy and that Gao Peng should play by himself, then hang up. Gao Peng tells the man who owns the boat that they should go down and take a look at the red carp. The man corrects Gao Peng and said it was King Red Carp. Then the man explained that the King Red Carp can understand their language, so he shouldn't say it wrong next time. Gao Peng responded he understood. A few hours later, the man pointed to the people on the bridge and said the place where the sacrificial ceremony will be held over there, and the sacrificial monster's level and grade are used to determine the level of contribution. The scale would then be distributed according to the person's contribution level. Gao Peng asks the man how the King Red Carp deliver the goods, which made the man confused. Suddenly the water in the river made a sea typhoon. Then the monster named Dragon Blood Red Sand Carp arrived. It was a red sand river lord with a level 44 lord tier. Its grade is perfect and its attribute is water. The King Red Sand Carp skills are water mastery level 3 and hardened scales level 2. The people on the bridge said the King Red Carp arrives and they should take out their sacrifices fast. The people put their sacrifices in the water, then the King Red Carp used its water skills to make the food move toward him. Then it eats the food happily. In exchange, the Red King Carp spits out something circle out of its mouth toward the people on the bridge. The something circle that the King Red Carp spit out landed on the ground into pieces, while the people were shouting that everyone shall take the scale in the order of offering sacrifices or else they'll anger the King Red Carp. On the other hand, Gao Peng said this was the first time he had seen a veteran lord use its ability. The King Red Carp hydrokinesis is just as mystical as in fairy tales. Then Gao Peng said he wished he could take a closer look. Then Gao Peng said he wonder what his grandfather's lord tier familiar is, and he knows a wild lord can't be observed up close, but he wonder if he can touch one that belongs to his family. Meanwhile, at South Africa Lusaka, in the middle of the road, a portal suddenly popped out of nowhere, which made the alarm system open. The other people panicked while saying that there was a high-energy spatial reaction nearby, and the white-bellied space worm has become agitated and it was most likely a spatial rift. The other people said they should send the red-spotted falcon and white-bellied space worm to go check out the target location. The red-spotted falcon arrived at the portal with a man. The man heard a horse's steps ready to attack and he ordered the red-spotted falcon to fly higher because he have a bad feeling. But before they can fly higher, the man shouted in pain. Then the horse with the body of a human and the head of a horse cut the man and red-spotted falcon in half. The monster landed on the ground and run. Meanwhile, at Jai Hanwoo's villa in Yuzhu outskirts, the television report said Lusaka has experienced a high-energy reaction. A new active spatial rift has appeared and is warmly welcoming monster trainers from all across the world to head over to the city. Gao Peng asks his grandfather if shouldn't the appearance of a spatial rift be treated as something serious, and why it feels as if it's something very good. Jai Hyun responded that the spatial rift is dangerous, but which place isn't dangerous these days? Up until now, only 3 spatial rifts have been discovered. The temporary spatial rift only appeared during the early period of the cataclysm and none of them have shown up within the last 2 years. Jai Hyun also said those who think they're strong see the appearance of the spatial rift as an opportunity instead. Spatial rifts mean new familiars and more importantly, new familiars from other worlds. New things are always popular and Gao Peng should understand that the logic is the same no matter where he goes. Then Jai Hyun showed a card and he tell Gao Peng that it was the card to the villa's laboratory, and that the materials he wanted him to help him look for have been mostly found. Then Jai Hyun said Gao Peng should see if he can put the materials to use. Then Jai Hyun says if he wants to raise his familiars, he can look for the advanced level monster breeders in the company. Consulting with them should be better than experimenting on his own. Gao Peng thanked his grandfather while thinking his grandfather doesn't know that he has the system, and the system is way much more reliable than any advanced level monster breeder. Jai Hyun stands up and tells Gao Peng that he needs to rest there for 2 days because he had just come back. Gao Peng asks his grandfather if he can see his familiars. Jai Hyun responded that his familiar named White is there, but Gao Peng needed to find it himself. After a few hours, Gao Peng goes to the backyard lake while thinking he had searched the whole house, but he couldn't find White. Then Gao Peng take off his shirt and said on such a hot summer day, he should just enjoy a cooling bath in the lake. Then he jumps into the water with Silly and relaxed while saying the water is really cooling. Suddenly Gao Peng was confused while wondering why he's flying. Gao Peng continuously flew to the water while he calling Flamey for help. But Flamey was scared of the monster looking at him. Still, Flamey flies to help Gao Peng while convincing itself to don't look down. On the other hand, on the balcony, Jai Hyun tells White that Gao Peng is his little master, so he needs to play gently. Suddenly, Gao Peng stops flying into the water, then Flamey comes to save him. Gao Peng holds onto Flamey leg, then Flamey gets down Gao Peng onto the ground. When Gao Peng looked back, he was shocked to see a real dragon looking at him. The dragon monster was named White Aquatic Dragon and it was level 50 Lord tier. White had a perfect grade and its attributes are cloud and water. White condition is healthy and acting cute, and its monster skills are water control level 4, cloud control level 4, and hardened scales level 3. White's special characteristics are cloud walker and rain armor. Effect 1. Passive skills are when within clouds, fog, or cloud type environment. The aquatic dragon's agility and speed will be greatly increased. Effect 2. Passive skill is when within lakes, oceans, rivers, storms, or other water bodies and water-type environments. The aquatic dragon's scales and claws will become much harder and more powerful. Also, the effect is stackable. White requirements for promotion to epic grade are 1. Pureblood evolution, 2. Calamity evolution, and 3. Water-type evolution. Gao Peng excitedly said although both have the blood of a dragon, the White Aquatic Dragon definitely easily surpasses the Dragon Blood Red Sandcarp in both level and ability. Gao Peng carefully walks toward White while thinking White's special characteristics are both passive skills. One increases its speed and agility, and the other increases the hardness and power of its scales and claws, so he can imagine just how terrifying its physical capabilities are. Gao Peng tried to touch White while saying White Dragon is the highest leveled familiar that he had ever encountered, but maybe because he's an ally it has fully suppressed its aura and he doesn't feel an ounce of pressure from White. Suddenly White looked at him, which made Gao Peng shocked in fear. Then Gao Peng stretched his hand and said he's so sleepy while thinking White is stingy, and he thinks he won't be able to pat it. Then Gao Peng turned around and said he's bored and is going. While behind him White tried to touch him. Then White touches Gao Peng, and when Gao Peng look at White, White is smiling while Gao Peng wondering what he's gonna do about White expression. Gao Peng said he should just go back and level up Silly. Also Dazai and Stripey's grade has also dropped a level due to their promotion, and he'll need to raise his familiars back to perfect grade. A few hours later, at Villa's simple laboratory, Gao Peng was ready a big bucket of water on the table. Then he poured the other mixture into the water while Silly was beside him drinking juice, and Gao Peng said last time, the green serum had caused Silly to turn into its current jade green color. But this time serum is red, does that mean Silly can change color again? Silly smelled the ingredients that Gao Peng mixed. Then Silly jumped to the bucket of the red mixture while Gao Peng looked at Silly and said it was working. Gao Peng explained that the aroma is pretty nice and a bit familiar, it was like a green apple. Suddenly Silly get out of the tube still green, which made Gao Peng stunned. Silly new monster's name is Dimensional Jellyfish with a perfect grade. It was level 20 and its attributes are 1. Space and 2. Wood. Also, Silly weaknesses are 1. Electric type 2. Ice type and 3. Afraid of fish. Gao Peng convinced himself that it was alright because at least Silly color is in poor light condition, and the color won't be obvious. Then Happy Silly sit on the top of Gao Peng's head while Dummy, Dazai, Flamey, and Stripey were peeking at the door while laughing at Gao Peng. The next morning, at the training center, Junzong greeted Gao Peng with good morning. Gao Peng said Junzong was there early. Gao Peng looked at Junzong, who currently encouraging his beast, and he thinks Junzong is the first to arrive at the training ground, but the last to leave almost every day. Gao Peng also thinks Junzong is so hardworking and it wasn't a waste for him to help Junzong. Then Gao Peng gets a flying saucer and tells Flamey that they do it 2 at a time like before. Then Gao Peng throws the 2 flying saucer into the sky while Flamey is aiming to the flying saucer. Then Flamey hit the flying saucer with his fireballs. Gao Peng thinks Flamey's flames have grown significantly more powerful since last week, and right now, firing 2 continuous fireballs is easy for Flamey and their training seems to be extremely effective. However, Gao Peng thinks training a fire-type familiar in the summer is torture. When Gao Peng was going to get water, someone called him. Wang said they'd begun the recruitment process as Gao Peng instructed, and they opened up some jobs for orphans or children from single-parent families. Then Wang tells Gao Peng that when he has time, he can come and monitor their work. Gao Peng responded that there's no need for that because although they're nominally in a superior and subordinate relationship, he'll be spending most of his time training his familiars, so he'll leave the daily work to him. Wang responded he understand and said many in the company are saying how generous Gao Peng is. Recruiting children was illegal back in the day, but in today's world, giving the children some easy work to do so that they can afford a meal is a good deed. Gao Peng tells Wang to stop trying to curry favor with him in front of the child and that Wang should keep a lookout for promising talents and let him know if there are any. The character is first, and the capability is second. Wang laughed and responded that he understood. should. Suddenly Gao Peng notices a bunch of people on the side of the training center and asks Wang what's going on over there. On the other hand, Zhu tells the man that she heard a monster appear in the factory and a lot of workers went missing and the missing people's family members have come looking for them. The man responded that Zhu is probably discussing the search and rescue mission with security supervisor Jiang. Gao Peng said it looks like the discussion isn't going well. Then he walked toward the bunch of people while asking Jiang what the situation was right now, and if he have found the monster. Zhu responded that the worker was found and was sent to the hospital. The worker sustained grave injuries, but was able to avoid death. But the monster is, then Jiang interrupted to say that the monster is a slippery thing. It fled into the underground sewage system. Gao Peng asks how did a monster manage to enter the factory through the sewage system and if their underground defensive installations were damaged. Gao Peng also said the situation needs to be resolved quickly because it'll be troublesome if more monsters come in through the underground sewage system. Wang tells Gao Peng that there are no defensive measures placed in the sewage system, and there's only an alloy gate that discharges liquid waste from the factory. Gao Peng was shocked and looked at Jiang. Then he asked Jiang what the meaning of Wang's words was. Jiang responded that they thought that the water pressure would be enough to prevent the monsters from entering the factory, and they have the alloy gate. Gao Peng angrily asked Jiang if did Jiang think they had time for that. Gao Peng said they only know that people have been seriously injured in a supposedly safe working environment, hindering their work and the result is a failure. Then he orders Jiang to show him the way, and orders Zhu to stay there and deal with the aftermath. Zhu happily agrees while Jiang angrily thinks who doesn't know how to talk in public. At the factory yard, Jiang pointed to a big hole in the ground and tells Gao Peng that there is where the monster disappeared. Gao Peng looked at the hole while thinking there are definitely no Lord-tier monsters living in the sewage system, and he remembers that his grandfather has a familiar living in the sewage. All potentially dangerous monsters have probably been exterminated by his grandfather familiar. Gao Peng walked toward the hole and said he'll take a look, but Jiang called Gao Peng and said it best to leave the sort of things to them. Gao Peng looked at Jiang and asks if Jiang going to send his 4-winged mantis. Then Gao Peng said devil mantises aren't suited for combat in the damp, dark places and it's not cut out for the job, which made Jiang can't say a word. But Jiang angrily thinks if it wasn't for that, he would have gone down in the sewage long ago and he called Gao Peng sheltered brats that all like to act tough, and he thinks in the end, they're the ones who have to clean up after him. Then Jiang tells Gao Peng not to worry because he believes in his familiar. It can adapt to all sorts of environments but behind him the mantis shaking its head. Gao Peng responded that he believes in Jiang's ability, but every familiar has its limitations, and the 4-winger devil mantises are suitable for combat in wide, open spaces. Besides, something major has happened in the factory, so he needs Jiang to maintain order. Jiang wonders if Gao Peng is actually helping him out and he thinks the brat Gao Peng is a bit different from the others. Jiang tells Gao Peng to be careful and he said it's not a high-level monster, but its movements are quick and agile, and it can also climb on walls. Gao Peng should watch out from above and once he'll down in the sewage, he needs to walk westward and he'll reach the alloy gate. Gao Peng said okay and tells Da Zai and Stripey that they'll be going down. Gao Peng and his familiars were walking to the sewage while Gao Peng telling his beasts that they're not there to play. Then Gao Peng said he don't feel nervous at all. Suddenly Da Zai alerted, which made Gao Peng asks Da Zai what was wrong and if there was something up there. Gao Peng pointed his flashlight where Da Zai looking and saw a big cockroach. Then the cockroach flies toward Gao Peng to attack him. Then Gao Peng called Stripey. Stripey uses its spider web to trap and push the cockroach away at Gao Peng, and Da Zai used its electricity to kill the cockroach. Stripey smells the cooked cockroach and asks Gao Peng if he can eat it. Gao Peng agrees. Then Stripey walked toward the cooked cockroach. Suddenly the cockroach fly away, which made Stripey shocked. Then the cockroach flies away while Stripey says that the yummy food is fleeing away. Flamey thinks the cockroach is a flying giant disc. Then Flamey attacked the cockroach using its fireball, which made the cockroach fall to the ground fully cooked, and Flamey is proud of itself. Da Zai and Gao Peng clapped because Flamey is amazing. A few moments later, Gao Peng and his beast arrived at the alloy gate. Then Gao Peng entered the password to open the alloy gate while saying that normally the alloy gate would be tightly shut. It should only open when the factory discharges wastewater. Then Gao Peng wondered if could the two monsters have slipped through the alloy gate and gone up against the current when it was opened. The alloy gate slowly opened while Gao Peng said it was weird because they were actually able to go against the current and go through the gate. Then he wondered what made the two cockroaches so determined. When the alloy gate is half open, Gao Peng saw many red eyes looking at him, which made him shocked. When the alloy gate finally opens, Gao Peng saw many cockroaches walking toward him. Gao Peng hears something inside and wonders what is it. Suddenly multiple cockroaches tries to attack Gao Peng. Then Gao Peng orders Stripey to attack and tells Da Zai to watch their back. Then he orders Flamey to burn the cockroaches. Flamey inhales, then flies and exhales a flame to burn the cockroaches on the ground. Gao Peng noticed the fat cockroach that's ordering the other cockroaches, and he thinks it was the leader. And he thinks the sound he hears was probably it giving the cockroaches orders to attack. Then Gao Peng orders Stripey to attack the cockroach leader first. Stripey bulldozes his way toward the leader while the cockroaches that are in its way fly in the air. Then Stripey saw the cockroach leader and bite its head out. After the cockroach leader got killed, Gao Peng saw the other cockroaches dispersed, and he think the gigantic cockroaches were the cause of the factory's accident, and the numbers are there. There'll always be 1 or 2 cockroaches who coincidentally rush inside the factory when the door opens. Suddenly Gao Peng saw Stripey upside down on the ground. Gao Peng panicked and asked Stripey what the matter was. Stripey responded that there was something moving in his mouth. Stripey opened his mouth and Gao Peng saw the monster named Dark Daughter, a parasite sub-body. It was level 19 in perfect grade and its attribute is dark. The parasite's hobby is eating metal and its weakness is hates sunlight. The parasite's characteristic is to suck up blood and fat beneath the host's skin as nutrition. Enables the host to recover their physical strength, repair their inner wounds, and upgrade their outer skin's defensive power. Gao Peng said the parasitic plant sub-body grade is pretty good and its strengthening attributes aren't bad either. Then Gao Peng patted Flamey head and apologized because Flamey is very young, yet he has so much to bear, which made Flamey confused. Flamey sadly ended up taking out the parasites inside Stripey mouth while Gao Peng is cheering it. The parasite in the ground suddenly has eyes that look at Gao Peng, saying Stripey doesn't have the habit of rinsing its mouth regularly, while Flamey is vomiting. The parasite run in the other direction. Then Gao Peng looked at Dazai and tells Dazai that they'll be counting on Dazai's sense of smell to swing by their new friend's place for a cup of tea later, and they'll find the main body if they follow the sub-body. Suddenly the tunnel moves, which made Gao Peng panic. Dazai tells Gao Peng that there's a big fellow behind them, and Flamey said he doesn't think it has ill intentions. Gao Peng turned around wondering what Flamey said. Then he saw big eyes looking at them and it was level 39. Then the monster left. Gao Peng said the monster is level 39 and if they fought it, they definitely couldn't win. Then he wondered why would such a scary monster be in the sewer when he thought his grandfather familiar had cleaned the sewer. Gao Peng realizes that the monster is his grandfather's familiar, and if his grandfather finds out about his current situation, he'll be laughed at again. Then Gao Peng called Dazai. Gao Peng looks at Dazai and asks if Dazai still remembers the smell of the black threads, and he said he had suffered emotional damage, so he needs something to make up for it. A few moments later, the parasite was peacefully walking. Then Gao Peng pointed the flashlight to it and said he find it, which made the parasite shocked. The parasite tried to run again, then Gao Peng ordered Flamey to block the parasite's way. Flamey made a barrier using its flame, which made the parasite stop. Then Dazai looked the parasite closely. Suddenly the rat appeared and carried the parasite above its head. Then the rat attacked Dazai. Fortunately, Dazai blocked the attack using its hands, but Dazai has thrown away into the wall because of the rat's force. Then the rat landed on the ground smiling while one of its teeth is broken. Gao Peng angrily ordered Dazai to electrocute the rat. Dazai showed his electrocute, which made the rat shocked in fear. But before Dazai can use his electrocute, the rat grabbed the parasite on its head and threw it on the ground. Then the rat ran, leaving the parasite on the ground. Dazai and Gao Peng look at the running rat confused. Then Gao Peng said it seemed like the rat-parasitic relationship is more similar to symbiosis, and the Dark Daughter can't give a forced command to the host, but it's also good that way and all he needs is its ability and not its thoughts. Then Dazai, Flamey, and Gao Peng looked at the parasite. Then Gao Peng said struggling is futile while laughing. Gao Peng and his beast got out of the tunnel. Wang asks Gao Peng how's the situation. Gao Peng responded that the problem was already taken care of and they need to get someone to fix the crack in the ground. Then Gao Peng hands the parasite to Dummy and tells Dummy to take the parasite. Then he orders Dazai, Flamey, and Stripey to head back first to rest. Dummy holds the parasite that currently moving and trying to escape. Then the parasite throws a piece of it to Dummy, and then the parasite goes inside Dummy, which made Gao Peng think the parasite is a bit dumb because it's searching for blood and flesh on a skeleton. Dummy hit the parasite, which made the parasite stop moving. Then Gao Peng asks Dummy what is he doing. Dummy responded that the parasite is squirming and it tickles him and he don't like it. Then Gao Peng gets something in his bag while asking Wang to find a bulletproof glass box to keep the parasite. Then Gao Peng answers his phone, and Jai Huan tells Gao Peng that he can come back now. Gao Peng responded he just arrived there not long ago and he haven't managed to get anything done yet. Jai Huan tells Gao Peng that Gao Peng personal laboratory is ready. He needs to come back and have a look at it. Gao Peng happily responded that he'll head to the villa right now. A few hours later, inside a cave behind the lake of Jai Hanwu's villa, Gao Peng tells his grandfather that his laboratory is a little too high profile. Jai Huan responded it's nothing. Then he orders Gao Peng to touch the beam of light. Gao Peng walked toward the beam of light and touch it. When he touched it, the light released a pink light around his hand. Then the laboratory door opened, which made Gao Peng shocked and think that the laboratory is way too posh. Gao Peng entered the laboratory and saw beautiful gadgets and equipment. Jai Huan asks Gao Peng if he was satisfied with the laboratory, and if not, they can build another one. Gao Peng happily responded that he's very satisfied. Then Jai Huan introduces Gao Peng to two people that the only advanced monster breeder in their company. Then Jai Huan said the name Deng Yimiao and Zhu Himing. Deng Yimiao greets Gao Peng, while Zhu Himing tells Jai Huan that he was in the middle of an experiment. Jai Huan tells Himing that the 20% increase of the experiment budget this month, which made Himing laugh and said Jai Huan is wise. Then Jai Huan introduced Gao Peng to the two monster breeders and said Gao Peng is an intermediate monster breeder. Deng said to be an intermediate monster breeder at a young age is indeed outstanding. Jai Huan laughed and said Gao Peng talent is just normal, and they should stop praising Gao Peng or else Gao Peng will become arrogant. Then Jai Huan looked at Gao Peng and said he invited Deng and Himing there to help Gao Peng with his experiment. And if there was any experiment Gao Peng wants to do, Gao Peng can seek guidance from Deng and Himing. But Gao Peng tells Jai Huan that he wanted to create a few evolution agents first. Then Gao Peng said he discovered a few evolutionary pathways of some familiars and they can directly create experimental drug agents for them. Also Gao Peng said if they could produce standard drug agents, they could definitely make a considerable profit selling them while increasing the Southern Sky Group's reputation. Jai Huan, Himing, and Deng were silent for a moment. Then Jai Huan laughed and said his grandson is so damn good and a real genius. Gao Peng looked at his grandfather's reaction and thinks his grandfather is really not suited for acting and that his grandfather's acting skills are actually even worse than Tang Tang. Then Gao Peng looked at Himing and Deng and thinks that they're probably laughing at him for pitching such a ridiculous idea. After all, even an advanced monster breeder might not be able to produce a stable familiar evolution agent. Then Gao Peng smiled while thinking that he'll need to produce results to make his point. Then Gao Peng goes to the computer and clicks something, then waits for the machine to fill the tube. When it's done, Gao Peng gets the tube with a red mixture inside. Then Gao Peng showed it to his grandfather and teachers while saying the mixture is a new reagent that he developed himself. Then Gao Peng said he called the mixture reagent the Bloody Butcher and he said the main ingredients of the drug agent are bloody fruit, golden thread fungi, and the organs of the black magic spider. Then Gao Peng clicked a button to open the tube and showed Kong peeling a banana inside of it. Gao Peng said the test subject is a common ape-type monster, the Black Raging Kong. Himing asks Deng if the Black Raging Kong is the reagent for its two evolutionary paths already very mature. Deng responded that the ingredients that Gao Peng suggested are easier to acquire, and if the reagent can successfully evolve the Black Raging Kong, then it'll be a very successful improved version. Gao Peng heard his teacher's conversation and smiled while thinking that in the first experiment, he naturally need to leave his teacher with an exceptionally deep impression. Then Gao Peng released anesthetic spray into the tube where the Kong was, which made the Kong sleepy while Gao Peng explained that because the experiments is a bit intense, a large amount of anesthetic spray is required. Then the machine injects the mixture into the sleeping Kong. After the mixture is injected, it releases red smoke. Then the red smoke made a circle that contained the Kong inside, which made Deng shouted that it was never before seen reaction. Deng looks closely at the tube, waiting for the experiment result while thinking that just having the kind of intense reaction is worth researching, and even if the experiment fails, he can still discover many useful things from the experiment. Deng also thinks Jai Hanwu's grandson is really something. Suddenly Kong's eye opens and the Kong breaks the circle to get out, then the Kong showed itself successfully evolved. The data said a Kong monster's name is a Blood Raging Kong in a special bloody evolution. It was level 10 with an excellent grade and its attribute is blood. The Kong monster's preferences are quiet and light music and its weaknesses are 1. Septic bloodberry and 2. Grasshoppers. Also, the requirement for its promotion to a perfect grade is 1. Advanced bloody evolution. Deng told Jai Huan that it was astounding and that he had never seen that kind of evolution method before. Jai Huan asks Deng if he's saying that no one has discovered that kind of monster before. Deng responded yes, and there is no such ape type currently known. Then Deng ordered Himing to test the Kong with the soul crystal obsidian, which Himing immediately followed. Gao Peng asked Deng what is a soul crystal obsidian. Deng responded that the soul crystal obsidian is a type of natural stone. It's a mutation of obsidian. After being treated, it can be used to test the grade of any monsters below the Lord tier. The soul crystal obsidian showed a color blue, which made Heming shouted that the result is out and blue means an excellent grade. Jai Hyun looked at the other tubes, while thinking the red one mixture has already succeeded. Then he wonders what are the other 3 tubes. Then he thinks Gao Peng really does keep surprising him, but if the public got wind of Gao Peng talent, it could put Gao Peng in a lot of danger. Then Jai Hyun seriously tells Deng and Heming that what happened today is a company secret and it's forbidden to share what happened with anyone, which Deng and Heming immediately agreed. Then Jai Hyun walked toward Gao Peng and asked Gao Peng if he had given the monster a name because Gao Peng is the first person to create that type of monster, so he should name it. Gao Peng looked at the Kong eating a banana and responded that they can call it a blood-raging Kong. Then Gao Peng grabbed the 3 tubes and said he named the 3 tubes reagents: Earth Reagent Type 1, Petrochemical Reagent Type 1, and Royal Reagent. Then Gao Peng clicks the computer to experiment number 2. In the big container behind Gao Peng, there's an ant. Gao Peng said the giant ant has already been injected with the petrochemical reagent, and they should view the result together. Gao Peng also explains that a lack of long-ranged attack is a common characteristic among monsters during their early stages. Then the ant's legs started to become stone while Gao Peng explained that it's hard to change the monster's agility, as that would involve changing their whole body structure. However, it isn't hard to raise the monster's defenses. While Gao Peng explains the ant evolve was successful. The ant's new monster's name is Stone Hard Ant. It was level 7 with an excellent grade and its preference is 1. Sugar water and 2. Tree sap. The ant condition is healthy and inflated. Gao Peng said the ant evolution is the result of the reagent and he'll call the ant Stone Hard Ant. Heming pointed the soul crystal obsidian to the ant. Then the crystal released a blue light which made Deng said the ant is also excellent grade. But Gao Peng clicked the experiment number on his tablet and said is not finished, and they should take a look at the result of the royal reagent. The container showed a bird, and Gao Peng said it was the wolf mountain sparrow, a common bird-type monster in Shisheng. The bird evolved from the russet sparrow that had existed before the cataclysm, and the sparrow isn't very big, but it's fast. Moreover, it has a fierce temperament. The inside of the sparrow's beak is covered with sharp teeth. After the royal reagent was used, it evolved into an emperor wolf mountain sparrow, and its grade went from normal to excellent. However, Gao Peng sadly said the royal reagent has a small defect. The continuous use of the royal reagent can evolve a monster to perfect grade, but it also makes it harder for it to be promoted to Lord tier. Deng and Heming were shocked while thinking a reagent that can guarantee a monster's evolution to perfect grade with continuous use, and the only drawback is that it'll be harder for it to be promoted to Lord tier. Gao Peng called it a defect. Then Gao Peng explained that the Earth reagent can evolve the Golden Light Dog into the Earth Golden Light Dog, and its grade will be increased by 1. Also, its strength and toughness will also experience varying degrees of increase. Jai Hyun held Gao Peng's shoulder and laughed. Then Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng that in the future if Gao Peng need any materials, he just ask him. Also, Gao Peng only needs to tell him any results from his future experiments. Jai Hyun said Gao Peng doesn't need to report it to anyone else in the company. Gao Peng responded okay. Then Jai Hyun ordered Deng and Heming to prepare to mass-produce the Bloody Butcher reagent, the Earth reagent Type 1, and the Petrochemical reagent Type 1 and sell them to the public, but the Royal reagent has more value, so they won't sell it yet. Heming and Deng bowed to Jai Hyun and Deng said they'll return to their positions. While walking, Heming tells Deng that youngsters nowadays are terrifying and he's afraid that Gao Peng isn't that far behind him. Deng responded that perhaps Gao Peng will surpass them in less than 2 years and their path is no longer lonesome. On the other hand, Gao Peng thinks that having a personal laboratory is just to make it convenient for him to produce reagents to hand to his grandfather, and with the system, he doesn't need to carry out experiments to research the evolutionary pathways of monsters. Gao Peng also thinks staying in the laboratory is just a way to enjoy the air conditioning and waste time. Then Gao Peng asked his grandfather if there were any expeditions being organized by their group lately. That made Jai Hyun shocked and asked Gao Peng if Gao Peng is interested in the wild and want to be a world hunter. Gao Peng happily asks his grandfather if he doesn't think world hunters are cool. Jai Hyun said there's a very special group in the monster trainer community known as the World Hunters, and every world hunter has their own title. They are celebrities in the monster trainer community and are also one of the most unique and powerful monster trainer organizations. Unlike most inactive monster trainers, they would go deep into the mountains and explore unknown areas where humans hadn't set foot yet, and they are the explorers of the world and the warriors of the wilderness. The military needs to defend the base cities and protect humanity. Nearly half the known areas that humans have explored so far have been scouted by world hunters. Gao Peng excitedly tells Jai Hyun that just thinking about world hunters makes him excited. Jai Hyun said Gao Peng has always been wild ever since Gao Peng was young. Then Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng that it's not that he can't go out into the wild, but he needs to train his familiars more because the way his familiars fight is too crude and the real wilderness isn't like a grove near the base city. Danger lurks everywhere. Then Jai Hyun seriously tells Gao Peng that before he gets his permission, he can't go into the wild. Otherwise, he'll break his legs and have him stay in bed, which made Gao Peng shocked and fear. Gao Peng sadly thinks he has the shifting constellations technique, so if his grandfather wants to break his legs, his grandfather needs to break all of his familiars' legs first. Dazai, and Stripey, and Silly and Flamey. Then he realizes Flamey can be excluded. Then Jai Hyun walks to leave while saying Gao Peng need to wake up tomorrow at 6 o'clock and bring all of his familiars for special training. Gao Peng agrees. The next day, at 5:57 o'clock, Jai Hyun said he asks Gao Peng to come at 6 o'clock, and Gao Peng really came exactly at 6 o'clock. Then Jai Hyun said Gao Peng is quite punctual, and since Gao Peng is so punctual, he wants to reward Gao Peng with 30 push-ups, which made Gao Peng confused. Then Gao Peng responded that humans like them can never beat a familiar, and they have the protection of their familiar, so there's no need. Jai Hyun said what no need. Then Jai Hyun kicked the tree in half, which made Gao Peng shocked, and thinks it was outrageous because even a normal tier black Raging Kong wouldn't necessarily be able to destroy the tree with just one kick. Then Jai Hyun angrily looks at Gao Peng and said he doesn't need to train because he has the protection of his familiars. Then he called Gao Peng naive. Then Jai Hyun asks Gao Peng if he doesn't need stamina when running away from danger. Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng that they're monster trainers. Protecting their own lives is the most important thing, and as long as they're still alive, they will have a chance to change the tide of a battle, which made Gao Peng think his grandfather isn't wrong. Then Jai Hyun explained that although the strength that comes from the feedback from their familiars is small if their familiars are highly leveled enough, the amount of power that's given to them through the feedback will also gradually increase. That's why with the increase of the number of familiars and their levels, a monster trainer's strength will slowly surpass that of a normal human's. Then Jai Hyun said he had only used 30% of his strength when he kicked the tree, which made Gao Peng amazed. Jai Hyun thinks Gao Peng will surely worship him now, while White responded that Jai Hyun just wanted to show off in front of his grandson. Jai Hyun looked at Dazai and said Dazai is an electric type, and he has a familiar who may be able to give Dazai a push. Then Jai Hyun called his Thunder God to come out. The monster named Thunder God Snail showed. It was level 39 with an epic grade and its attributes are electric and water. Thunder God state is healthy and stable and its skills are Thunder Mastery level 3, Water Mastery level 2, and Hardened Shell level 3. Thunder God's special characteristics are Electric Shell. Effect 1, passive skill is Thunder Mastery +1. Effect 2, active skill fully releases all the electric energy saved in its electric shell, creating a catastrophic thunderstorm within a certain range. Also, Thunder God's requirements for promotion to legendary grade are Thor's Stone ×1, and 30 tons of healing water. Jai Hyun said he found the Thunder God snail in the ocean. It isn't very strong, but it has a very gentle character that should be enough to train Dazai. While Dazai is shakingly hiding behind Gao Peng, Gao Peng realizes that it really was his grandfather familiar that they saw in the sewers. Gao Peng looks at Dazai and tells Dazai to go on, and the Thunder God snail's attribute is similar to Dazai. Gao Peng also tells Dazai that Dazai should know that Thunder God is his senior, and he needs to listen to his senior, but Dazai disagrees and shakes his head. Gao Peng called Dummy, then Dummy grabbed Dazai's horn to lift up and walk toward the Thunder God. Dazai shouted to Gao Peng that he doesn't want him anymore and that he have changed. But Gao Peng angrily tells Dazai to train properly and he wonders how could he have a familiar who's that cowardly. Dazai angrily responded that Gao Peng is a coward and he is the most cowardly and he learned to be a coward like Gao Peng. Gao Peng walks toward Thunder God and said he'll be handing the disobedient familiar to him to train. Then Gao Peng asks the Thunder God not to hold back. Thunder God smiled while Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng that Thunder God said it was no problem and leave Dazai to him. Then Gao Peng asks his grandfather what about Stripey, Dummy, and Flamey. Jai Hyun responded that Flamey will train with Dazai and he said although the Thunder God snail is a water and electric type, they're both elemental types, so there are a lot of similarities. Dummy is a ghoul type and it has a close range fighting style. Then he asks Gao Peng how he planning on developing Stripey. Gao Peng responded defense and control. Jai Hyun said it's a tank that has the ability to limit others' fighting capabilities. Then he said they need to train Stripey control and counter-attack abilities. Then Jai Hyun clicked his fingers, then White showed itself. Jai Hyun tells White that he's the training partner for Dummy and Stripey. Silly said big fish and collapsed to the ground. Jai Hyun looked at them and said the training will begin. White looked at Dummy and Stripey, then White attacked Dummy using its tail, which made Dummy thrown onto the ground. Then Stripey used its ability to dig a hole. Gao Peng said Stripey realized its Earth-type ability on the spot, and Gao Peng thinks Stripey's digging a hole is a trap, and he said he didn't expect Stripey to use tactics. But Stripey just goes inside the hole to hide, which made Gao Peng disappointed. White grabbed Stripey in the hole and tossed it to the ground, which made Stripey bounce multiple times in the ground before landing. Then Stripey stand up and its state change into Berserk. Gao Peng shouted that it'll be troublesome if Stripey goes crazy. Then Stripey attacked White, but White just flicked Stripey, which made Stripey sink to the ground. Dummy saw it and angrily attacked White. White attacked Dummy using its tail, which made Dummy thrown to the ground again. But White was shocked because Dummy landed a hit on him. Jai Hyun laughed and said that Dummy actually landed a hit on White. But Dummy and Stripey still need more training, while beside him Gao Peng is pushing up, and Gao Peng thinks although the gap in levels is quite big, they were defeated way too quickly. Then Gao Peng looked at Da Zai and Flamey with Thunder God. Da Zai sadly tells Thunder God that Thunder God is powerful and is not as powerful as him. Thunder God responded that he'll show Da Zai what he could do when he was at Da Zai level. Then Thunder God used his power and said that was his true power. Da Zai looks at Thunder God powers amazed. Thunder God said it's not as hard as Da Zai think, and for them controlling electricity is a natural talent. Just like how Da Zai can walk with the 100 of legs Da Zai have, and that is Da Zai talent. Thunder God also said Da Zai can be able to do it if Da Zai practices, but for Flamey walking with hundreds of legs at a time is something impossible. Then Thunder God used it one eye to come close to Flamey and ask it if he was right. Flamey asks what that has to do with him, and Flamey said he doesn't care how many legs Da Zai has because Da Zai legs are still short. Then Flamey made a fireball. Thunder God asks Flamey how he was able to create a fireball on his first try, and he said even he had tried a few times before he succeeded. But the one-legged bird succeeded in just one shot. Then Thunder God said Flamey has a lot of potentials. But Flamey just ignored Thunder God, which made Da Zai angry and wonder why Flamey was acting smug. Then Da Zai angrily said to Flamey did is just channeling the hidden power inside their body, and he can do it too. Then Da Zai tried to release his power while proudly doing it. Gao Peng said the next step Da Zai needs to do is slowly release the power in its body, then he cheered Da Zai. But Da Zai just released a fart which made Gao Peng collapse on the ground. Then Gao Peng said he give up, while Dummy looked at him confused. On the other hand, Silly is still on the ground begging White that he thinks a big fish is going to eat him. Half a month later, Dummy avoided all White attacks, then it jumped toward White while White was ready to hit him using its tail. But Dummy grabs White tail and using it again to jump, then landed a punch at White, which made Gao Peng proud. Dummy jumped back, then landed on the ground proudly, while beside him, Stripey asked if the battle is over. White looked at Dummy and said Dummy reflexes and speed have reached the qualifying standards, and the water controlling ability that he used just now was on the level of most commander tier water type monsters. Then White tells Dummy that if he can get close enough to the enemy under such conditions, it means he has already won half the battle. Then White looked at Stripey and said Stripey is just a tank, so Stripey just needs to withstand attacks. Gao Peng patted sad Stripey and assured Stripey that it was okay and at least is not afraid of being hit. Gao Peng looked at Flamey, who currently practicing his fireball skill in the water. Gao Peng said after all Flamey training, it can control fire skillfully now. Then Gao Peng looked at practicing Da Zai and said Da Zai needs more training. On the other hand, Silly finally reached Commander tier in half a month, and Silly portable space has increased tremendously to as big as a rear compartment of a large truck, and Gao Peng's dream of having a portable warehouse has finally come true. Gao Peng said the training objective that his grandfather set has basically been achieved, and he has already prepared the necessities needed for surviving in the wilderness such as food, medicine, and tents. Suddenly Jai Hyun gives something to Gao Peng. Gao Peng asks what is it, and when Gao Peng opens it, it contains a map, a tablet, and a compass. Jai Hyun explained that the tablet is solar powered. There's an electronic version of the map on it, and Gao Peng can also use it to make calls if there's a signal. Jai Hyun said he had already taught Gao Peng how to use a map and a compass. Then Jai Hyun explained that the map is the map of interior regions. It shows the terrain of Yuju, and it also shows where the dangerous areas are, so Gao Peng should refer to the map often. Jai Hyun tells Gao Peng that he has a flying type familiar, so he has more protection than most monster trainers on expeditions, and he needs to learn to make the correct decisions when he's in danger. Jai Hyun also said, as long as he's here, he will always be there to be Gao Peng's shield. Then he tells Gao Peng to do everything that he wants to do with confidence, which made Gao Peng emotional and touched. Then he look at his grandfather's hair and thinks that he remember that his grandfather's hair had once been black, but now it changed. Then Gao Peng responded okay, and Gao Peng promised that he'll be back. The next morning, in the jungle outside Yuzhu City, Gao Peng and his familiar were stopped in the forest, while Gao Peng looked at the map saying that they should be there right now. Gao Peng said there are way too many red circles on the map and he can roughly spot at least 10 of them. The red circle on the map are all territories that belong to Lord tier monsters. Then Gao Peng realized that his grandfather was right when he said the wilderness is dangerous. Then Gao Peng looked at Stripey's data and said in order for Stripey to get promoted to the epic grade, Stripey will need to swallow an earth spirit core, then sleep for 72 hours in black soil for Stripey to evolve into an earth shield spider. The data said the earth spirit cores can be easily found deep in caves that are surrounded by mountains. Gao Peng said he's not sure if it's because his soul strength has increased, but when he put his focus on certain materials, the system shows him where the materials can be easily found. Suddenly many mosquitoes appeared in the sky. Then Flamey tells Gao Peng that there are many big mosquitoes. Flamey ready his fireballs, but Gao Peng stopped Flamey and ordered Flamey not to attack and come down first. Flamey landed in the tree branch while asking Gao Peng why they not attacking. Then Flamey said they should catch the mosquitoes off guard. Gao Peng responded that the jungle is dark and full of thick trunks and dense shrubs, so they don't know where the other mosquitoes are hiding, and if they get surrounded, they'll be in trouble. Then Gao Peng gets something in silly inventory while saying they need to be smart when dealing with such monsters. Then Gao Peng showed a big bag of mosquito repellent while saying the mosquito repellent was made with the mutated Telosma cordata plant after the cataclysm. It's mixed with purple gold lavender, Scorpio gold sunflower, giant citron, and orange jessamine to become a super mosquito repellent. Then Stripey lift up the open mosquito repellent while Dummy fanned it to make the fragrance of the mosquito repellent spread. Gao Peng said it was time to witness a miracle, which made Flamey confused. The mosquito smelled the mosquito repellent, then it collapsed to the ground while Gao Peng and his familiars were watching behind the tree. Then Gao Peng proudly said it was easy peasy. Gao Peng looked at his amazed familiar and said it was basic. Then Gao Peng and his familiars continue their mission. They walk to the river while Gao Peng looks at his map and said they need to cross the river, then they turn right. Suddenly Gao Peng was shocked to see the monster jumping behind Dummy. Fortunately, Dummy blocks it. The monster named Storm Panther is on level 26. Its grade is excellent and its attribute is wind. Gao Peng thinks the panther is fast and luckily Dummy blocked it in time, or else Dummy would have been hurt. Then Dummy pushed Stripey to the panther and Stripey attacked the panther, which made the panther thrown away. Then Gao Peng called Flamey to come back while thinking none of his familiars specialized in speed. Dummy's specialty is close range burst attacks, but long distance sprinting is simple beyond it. Also, letting Flamey chase it by itself was too dangerous. While Gao Peng shouts at the panther that the next time they meet, he'll definitely skin it alive. Then behind him something attacks him, but Da's eye saw it and pushed Gao Peng, which made Gao Peng unharmed but soaked in the water. The monster who attacked Gao Peng was named the Golden Palm Tree Spirit. It was level 29 commander. Its grade is normal and its attribute is wood. Also, its weaknesses are 1. Fire and 2. Electric. Gao Peng angrily said that was the second time the palm tree attacked him. Then he asked the palm tree if did it think it's easy to bully him. Then Gao Peng angrily said if you don't teach the palm tree a lesson, it'd think he's weak. Then he ordered Dazai and Flamey to attack it. Dazai and Flamey angrily look at the palm tree, then Flamey uses his fireball and Dazai uses his electricity to attack it, which made the palm tree burn to ashes. Gao Peng walks toward the palm tree spot while angrily saying the palm tree like playing games with him. Then he asks the palm tree why don't it crank it up a notch. Gao Peng grabbed the crystal on the ground and said a core crystal of a plant type commander tier monster will be able to sell for at least a few thousand alliance credits. Then Gao Peng give the core crystal to Silly to keep it in its inventory while telling to his familiars that they should find a place to rest. While they finding a place to rest, they saw a cave. Then Gao Peng said the mountain cave is away from the wind and is hidden enough. There's also a water source nearby, so they can rest there. Gao Peng also said he should mark the cave on the map as a temporary safe point. Suddenly the duck showed itself at the entrance of the cave croaking at Gao Peng. Gao Peng wondered why the duck is croaking. Gao Peng tells the duck that he's just borrowing its place for a day and no need to make a fuss about it. Then he asks the duck to leave before his familiars start feeling hungry, but the duck continues croaking aggressively at him. Gao Peng angrily tells the duck that it can't even quack properly and that it's embarrassing. The duck wondered for a second what is croak and what is quack, then the duck started quacking. Gao Peng looked at the duck data wondering how the duck manages to survive there that long with its low level of intelligence. The duck monster named is Adamantine Duck, Mutant. It was level 10 with an epic grade, and the duck's current state is healthy but tired. The duck's special characteristic is gooey power. Its passive effect said when being attacked, it has a certain chance to enlarge its body for a certain period of time, and its strength, defense, and speed will also be amplified at the same time. Gao Peng just looks at the duck and thinks that the duck is actually epic grade, then he apologizes for his rudeness. Then Gao Peng turn around and tells his familiars that they should go and they'll just try to reach their destination by today. Then Gao Peng tells the duck that it must have been hard for a mutant like him to survive that long, and the next time it sees a human, he shouldn't go up to them. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Gao Peng and his beasts continue to walk. Then Stripey tells Gao Peng that he was hungry and he wants to eat the duck. Daze also said is hungry and wanted to eat the duck also. Gao Peng asks Daze why he's hungry when Dummy's the one carrying him around all day. Daze tells Gao Peng that Gao Peng also rides Stripey and he learned it from him. Then Flamey flies toward Gao Peng and orients Gao Peng. Gao Peng responded no. On the other hand, behind the tree, something is hiding. Suddenly the duck croaked at them again, and Flamey tells Gao Peng that the duck is calling him. Gao Peng asks Flamey if he can understand the duck. Flamey proudly responded that he's a level B master in bird language, leaving Gao Peng shocked. The duck ran toward Gao Peng while croaking continuously. Flamey tells Gao Peng that the duck said wait for him, big duck. And the duck thinks Gao Peng is a duck, which made Gao Peng shocked and wonder how could it because he helped corrected its quacking. Gao Peng turned around and said don't mind the duck. Then Gao Peng ordered Stripey to go faster. Otherwise they'll have to spend the night in the jungle and it'll be very dangerous, while the duck is still croaking. Flamey translated the duck word and the duck said stop. Then the duck tripped its one leg and fall to the ground. The duck cried and said that the strange duck doesn't like him either, no one likes him, and his mommy and daddy don't want him either. Suddenly Gao Peng grabs him on the ground, and when the duck look up it's excitedly said the big ducky, which is Gao Peng didn't leave. Flamey tells Gao Peng that he thinks the silly duck was abandoned by its parents and the duck is still a child. Then Flamey asks Gao Peng if they're really going to leave the duck there. Gao Peng turned around and said fine, they will bring the duck with them, while thinking since the duck is an epic grade, they're not at loss. While behind him his other beasts happily looked at the duck and assured it that they'll protect him. A few hours later, they arrived outside the Yuju City stone forest. Gao Peng saw a hole with a high chance of Earth Spirit Core emergence. Gao Peng said the Earth Spirit Core should be nearby, but the size of the hole is small that Stripey, Dummy, and Flamey won't be able to enter. Then Gao Peng look at Daze and order it to go inside the hole and take a look. Daze started to crawl into the hole while Gao Peng told Daze to see if there was anything that was giving off rich earth elemental energy. Then Gao Peng tells Daze to be careful and come out quickly if he comes across any monsters in the hole, and he doesn't need to push himself. Then Gao Peng noticed something and look at it. The monster behind the rock is named the Rock Scorpion. It was level 11 elite with a normal grade. The scorpion hissed to the quaking duck while Gao Peng thinks that luckily, the monsters in the region aren't strong. Dummy asks Gao Peng if he should shoo the scorpion away, but Gao Peng stopped Dummy and said no need. Although the scorpion's level is higher than the silly duck, it's only a normal tier and it's nothing to worry about. Then Gao Peng tells the duck to show him his true combat power. 10 minutes later, Flamey was yawning and asks Gao Peng how long the duck and the scorpion going to continue their shouting match. The duck and the scorpion are just hissing and quacking at each other, which made Gao Peng and his other familiars confused. Then Gao Peng ordered Dummy to chase the scorpion away. Then Dummy walks toward the scorpion. Then the scorpion runs away, leaving the confused duck. Gao Peng asks the duck how on earth did the duck manage to survive so long. The duck responded, but Gao Peng can't understand it. Daze tells Gao Peng that he found it. Then Gao Peng happily praised Daze and orders Daze to bring the Earth's core out. Daze gets out of the hole, holding the small Earth core in its mouth. The item name is a small Earth Spirit Core and the item effect says rich in Earth elemental energy. It has the ability to allow Earth-type monsters to evolve. Gao Peng grabbed the Earth Core and said it was so small, then he wondered if it will work because he remember reading that Stripey required only one Earth Spirit Core to evolve, and it didn't specify the size. Then Gao Peng tells to his beasts that they should head over to the location they marked. A few moments later, they arrived at their rest location. Then Stripey was in the hole sadly swallowing the Earth Core, while Gao Peng ordered Stripey to sleep and assuring it that they'll wait by its side. Then Dummy buries Stripey, while Gao Peng tells his familiars that they'll wait there until Stripey awakes and perhaps the master of that place will return later, so they need to be alert. The night come, a monster crawled into the forest, then it saw a tent placed in its house which made it confused. Then the monster saw the duck sleeping beside the tree while thinking that the duck is blocking the door in his house. Suddenly the monster bites the duck's hand. The duck gets angry and asks the monster why it bites him. But the monster just uses its power on the duck, which made the duck cry because it hit its eyes while the monster laughs beside the duck. Suddenly, the monster was shocked to see that the duck become larger. Then the duck looked at the monster angrily. Gao Peng heard the noise outside and peeked into the tent door while asking what going on and why is it noisy out there. Then he saw the duck so big, which made him shocked and wonder when did the duck get so big. Gao Peng just looks at the angry big duck while thinking that he finally understands how the simple-minded duck has been able to live for so long on its own. The monster ran away in fear, but the duck just stomped the monster. Then the duck slowly goes back to its size, while Gao Peng looked behind it while thinking that at first, he assumed the duck gooey power would only allow it to expand its body size to a certain extent, and that the effect couldn't be stacked. It's also a passive ability, so he thought it was a useless ability, but now that he had seen it with his own eyes, it's actually a divine ability. Truly, fortune favors the dull-witted. Gao Peng called the duck while wondering if he can sign a blood contract with the silly duck. When the duck was near to him, Gao Peng placed his hand near the duck's head to connect with it. Gao Peng enters the duck's consciousness and he saw that the duck's mindscape is bright in color. Then he remembers Feng Zhu's book saying that the bright color represents a light-hearted and happy mood. Suddenly Gao Peng saw a tree with wings which made him shocked. Then a flower and grass that have eyes and mouth. Gao Peng thinks the duck looks dumb and silly on the outside, but its mindscape is pretty rich. Suddenly the duck's mindscape color changing, which made Gao Peng confused and wonder why is the mood changing. Then Gao Peng saw the duck's parents talking. The duck's father asked the duck's mother if the duck is their child. The mother responded yes and said that the duck's eyes are very big. Then the father duck angrily said the duck had 5 toes and called the duck a monster. The duck looks at its toes and wonders what is a monster. Then the duck's brother proceed to eat, while the duck was sure that his brothers will leave some food for him because they were brothers. But his brothers kick him and tell him that he's not his brother. Then his brothers ask him to go away and don't come near them because he's a monster. The duck gets angry and becomes bigger, which made his brothers shake in fear and shout that he's really a monster. The duck brother cried and tell their father that his brother is bullying him. The duck father angrily shouted at the duck to go away and don't come back, while the duck mother was crying beside his father. The duck cried and asks Gao Peng why everyone hates him and why everyone calls him a monster just because he has an extra toe. Gao Peng realized that's why the duck quack sounded off, and that is why the duck followed him after he taught it how to quack like an actual duck. Gao Peng thinks being cast out by its parents made the adamantine duck especially sensitive, and give the duck some attention and it'll want to stick with him. After all, no one has ever had the patience to listen to its story until now. Then Gao Peng reaches out to the duck while telling the duck to don't ponder about it too much, and if he follows him, the duck can eat all the fish he wants. The duck called Gao Peng a strange big ducky in an appreciative way. Then the contract between Gao Peng and the duck was successfully done. Gao Peng tells the duck that now that they've signed a blood contract, he'll have to give the duck a name, and since the duck feathers are yellow, he'll call the duck Goldie, which made the duck confused. Suddenly the ground where Stripey was buried released a gold light. Then Stripey broke the ground to get out. Then Stripey showed itself in successful evolution. Stripey's new monster's name is Earth Shield Spider. It was epic grade and level 25 commander tier, and its attribute is Earth. Its skill is Earth Mastery level 2 and its state is healthy and happy. Stripey's special characteristic is Earth Spirit. It means the Earth Spirit core has replaced Stripey Heart, increasing its affinity with the Earth element and making it lose its ability to merge with other elements. Passive effect 1 is Earth Mastery level 1. Passive effect 2 is Stripey is under Earth's constant protection. As long as it is standing on solid ground, it will be able to absorb the Earth's power and form an Earth elemental around its body. The armor's defensive power is determined by Stripey Earth Mastery skill level. Gao Peng happily said Stripey successfully evolved and also gained a new skill, and their mission in the mountain is a success. Then Gao Peng decided to come back to his grandfather's villa. The next day, at Yuzhou Mansion, Gao Peng just finished showering when he noticed a piece of paper on the table. In the paper, his grandfather said the company needs him, and he tells Gao Peng to eat breakfast first before reading the documents. Gao Peng grabs the documents while saying his grandfather really likes to worry and is not a child anymore. Inside the document, Gao Peng saw some pictures of water. Gao Peng said the group of advanced divers discovered an unknown shiny object at the bottom of the Zihai Lake that drew swarms of huge carp to it. The system said the item's name is Forbidden Magic Stone Water, which made Gao Peng think the ingredients that he mentioned to his grandfather yesterday to evolve Goldie has been found. The Forbidden Magic Stone is one of the ingredients required for the adamantine duck to evolve into a forbidden adamantine duck. Gao Peng carefully looks at the picture while thinking he needs to get his hands on that forbidden magic stone, and once Goldie reaches the legendary grade, Goldie will be able to awaken a second skill. Suddenly, the advanced device on the table ring. Gao Peng answers it. Then his grandfather asks him if he has looked at the documents and if the ingredients he's looking for is the one in the documents. Gao Peng responded yes and thanked his grandfather. Jai Hyun said he'll send someone to retrieve it for Gao Peng and Gao Peng should just stay at home. Then Jai Hyun said he have another meeting and he'll going to hang up. Jai Hyun hung up, leaving Gao Peng confused if it was just like that. Gao Peng thinks he should be the one out there fighting a battle of wits and brawn with the dangerous monsters in the wild in order to obtain the prize, and make an enemy with some rich brat that's aiming for the same prize too, and he said the situation right now isn't what he expected at all. Then Gao Peng smiled while wondering why he's so happy about the situation. Meanwhile, at Zihai Lake, many boats are coming toward where the forbidden magic stone. One boat group complained because there are so many carps in the lake. Then the captain of that boat said the Black Gate group is offering 300 million alliance dollars and 3 commander tier monster core crystals for their mission. Then he asked his people if they think the mission would be easy. Then the captain tells his people to relax because there are many teams also aiming for the prizes and they just need to hold out till the end. One man asks his captain why don't they turn back, because even if they might be able to pull the prize out from the bottom of the lake, they might not make it out alive unless they have a flying type familiar. Suddenly one man pointed to something and said he don't think a flying familiar will be of much use. Then he called his captain to look. The captain looks in the direction the man pointing. Then the captain is shocked to see the Golden Goose King flying toward their direction. The captain immediately orders his people to retreat while saying if the other team wants the money, they should let them have it and they're leaving. On the other hand, in the depth of Zihai Lake, one fish was near to the forbidden magic stone. The fish look at the stone while saying that the forbidden magic stone feels so peculiar, and the fish wonder if that is the fate her mom was talking about. The fish said she heard her mom was able to become extremely powerful because her mom ate a very peculiar fruit. Then the fish happily said all the powerful purple-backed carp in her tribe are birthed by her mom and she wants to give birth to a lot of powerful children just like her mom. Suddenly, one of the other fish feels something and asks who's there. The monster tells the fish to watch his tongue or he'll swallow him whole. The fish called the monster giant carp and the fish tells the giant carp to stay back because the place is their purple-backed carp territory. Suddenly the giant carp angrily showed itself, which made the fish shocked and wonder why a sub-chief of the giant carp is there. Then the fish tells the giant carp not to come any closer because behind them is their chief's most beloved daughter, and their king will be furious if he dares lay a fin on the chief daughter. The giant carp just laugh and ask if would a bear fear the repercussions of eating a tiger's cub. The giant carp shouted no and explained that a tiger would do the same to its cub if given the opportunity. Then the giant carp said the chief of the purple-backed carp slaughtered many of his kind and eating the chief daughter is within reason, which made the fish shocked. Then the fish made the chief daughter swim away while the other fish tried to buy some time and trap the giant carp in the water currents. The fish used their skill to trap the giant carp, but the giant carp said all the purple-backed carp are abominations and their evolutionary pathway is all wrong. The giant carp uses his skill while saying brute strength is the only thing that matters. The other fish got killed. Then the giant carp swam toward the forbidden magic stone and grabbed the stone using its mouth. On the other hand, the Golden Goose King said the glowing stone has disappeared. Then one of the Golden Goose Kings wrapped up its wings to its body, then launched toward the water to grab the giant carp while telling the giant carp not to dare to swim and hand the stone over. The giant carp attacked the leg of the Golden Goose King using its tail, which made the giant carp free. Then the giant carp swam fast, leaving the injured Golden Goose Kings. The man in the boat angrily orders his people to go after the giant carp. But the man said the stone was definitely swallowed by the sub-chief of the giant carp, and he tells his boss not to worry because they've been tracking the sub-chief. A moment later, the injured giant carp arrived at the place where his kind was. Then the giant carp pop his head and transfer the forbidden magic stone to the other giant carp. Then the giant carp swim toward the man to the bay, while the man calls the retrieval team because the giant carp is there. Then the giant carp open its mouth and give the forbidden magic stone to the man, who currently telling the retrieval team to get the stone and retrieve it. On the other hand, the man called the kid number 3 and tells number 3 that the next time he controls the giant carps, he should tone down his dramatic because he's getting secondhand embarrassment just listening to him. Then the man in the bay reports to the man who's currently looking at the other team trying to get the stone to the giant carp. Then the man said that the item has been retrieved. Secretary Han responded that they should go and the other people can search for the stone as long as they want. After a few hours, at the laboratory, Gao Peng and Jai Hyun were looking at Goldie, who was currently in the big container confused. Jai Hyun looked at the forbidden magic stone and said he didn't think that Goldie would be an epic grade. Then he looks at Gao Peng while thinking Goldie is in epic grade now, but Gao Peng wants to promote Goldie to legendary grade, and as of now, there are no known instances of someone successfully promoting a monster to legendary grade. At least he has never heard of any successful cases. Then Jai Hyun put his hand on Gao Peng's shoulder and tells Gao Peng that he believes that Gao Peng can do it. Gao Peng tells his grandfather not to worry. Gao Peng look at the stone while thinking that other materials are expendable, but there's only one forbidden magic stone and he can't afford to fail. Then Gao Peng looks at the stone that is currently soaked in the green mixture on the tube while thinking the stone's reaction rate is a bit slow. The tube's green mixture slowly changing to the blue mixture, and after a few seconds, the mixture completely turned to sky blue, which made Gao Peng happy because his experiment is a success. Then Gao Peng showed a duck to Goldie, which made Goldie excited and happy. Then Gao Peng pointed to the machine holding a tube with a blue mixture and tells Goldie to drink the mixture, and he will give the toy duck to him. Goldie immediately grabbed the tube while Gao Peng told it that he only wanted him to drink the liquid inside and he didn't ask him to swallow the glass tube. After Goldie drank the mixture, it collapsed to the ground. Then its feathers started to shed. Gao Peng looked at Goldie shocked, wondering why Goldie shedding so many feathers. After all of Goldie feathers fall out, its body becomes big, which made Gao Peng wonder if it was the legendary saying of he has gone bald, but he has also become stronger. Goldie's new monster's name is Forbidden Adamantine Duck. It was level 10 in legendary grade and its attribute is gold. Goldie's state is healthy and Goldie's weaknesses are 1. The Tianchu exercising stone can cause extra damage to the Forbidden Adamantine Duck. 2. The Forbidden Adamantine Duck cannot use elemental energy. Also, Goldie requirements for promotion to mythical grade had 2 evolutionary routes. 1. Divine Adamantine Martial Duck and 2. Vicious Nightmare Suppressing Beast Duck. While Gao Peng looking at Goldie's data, he found out that the next grade after legendary is mythical and the ingredients needed are extraterrestrial starburst iron, star core magic stone, and more. Gao Peng thinks just looking at where the ingredients originate from is giving him a headache. Whether it's possible to acquire the ingredients on Earth is one problem. Then Gao Peng clicked his tablet and decided that he will show the result to his grandfather first. Jai Hyun looked at Goldie in shock and said Gao Peng actually made Goldie a legendary grade and his grandson has achieved something that no one else on Earth has achieved. Then Jai Hyun looked at Gao Peng and tells him that they'll keep the experiment between him and Gao Peng and he will tell the public that the duck was already a legendary grade monster when Gao Peng got it. Gao Peng tried to tell his secret to his grandfather, but Jai Hyun just said he knows Gao Peng has a little secret and he doesn't need to share it with him and is lazy to hear it too. Then Jai Hyun started to walk away while saying that he will hand Gao Peng the responsibility of promoting his familiars. Gao Peng is in tear of joy, said only his grandfather would unconditionally trust him like that. A few moments later, Goldie slowly opened his eyes and saw Gao Peng. Gao Peng said Goldie is awake, which made Goldie confused. Gao Peng smiled and told Goldie it's nothing and he just thought that Goldie had gotten handsome. Goldie gets up, then walks toward the mirror. Then Goldie looks at himself in the mirror, then laughs while saying the duck he saw in the mirror is definitely the ugliest duck he has ever seen. A few seconds later, Goldie realizes that the ugly duck is him. Then Goldie starts crying and shouted to Gao Peng, asking him what have he done. Flamey angrily hit Goldie in the head while telling Goldie that Gao Peng worked hard to make him stronger and they're noble bird type familiars, so they need to act with politeness. While Dazai in the side saying Goldie has the audacity. The data said Goldie's secret power is secret patterns, that means strong resistance to elements, and the effectiveness of the skill is determined by the physical condition of the user. Effect 1, passive effect said strong resistance to elements and additional resistance to the water element. Effect 2, active effect said secret patterns will be activated temporarily when the effect is in use and a vacuum sphere will appear around the body, cancelling all types of elemental powers near the sphere. It will also expel all elemental powers within the sphere. Gao Peng said that based on his understanding of Goldie's data, the first effect is a passive effect that increases Goldie's resistance to elemental attacks, and the second ability is to form an element-free sphere around its body, like an anti-magic field. Then he looked at the crying Goldie with a lump in its head while thinking of a bald duck that is immune to elemental attacks and grows stronger the more it gets hit. A few days later, at the Yuju University branch campus college town, Gao Peng happily arrived and said he was finally in Yuju University. Then he saw Moi talking to the man and he wondered if Moi also came to Yuju University. Then Gao Peng looked at the university gate while thinking that he should go register himself first. Gao Peng walked inside the university while thinking that the registration for the monster trainer major should be around there. Suddenly, the man beside the table and 3 people ask if he's a freshman and if his major is a monster trainer or monster breeder. Gao Peng responded monster trainer. The man said he thought Gao Peng would be a monster breeder with how polite looking Gao Peng is. The girl beside the man said monster trainers are everywhere now. Unless the man goes out to the wilderness and enter the fray, it would be hard to find a job. Gao Peng walked toward the table while thinking the man's changed attitude is quite obvious and he guessed monster breeders are more welcome. The man at the table tells Gao Peng that he can register there, then he asks if Gao Peng brings his examination admission ticket. Gao Peng responded yes and give his admission ticket. The man swipes Gao Peng admission ticket and was shocked, which made the other man ask what is wrong with him. Gao Peng data showed his examination result that said Gao Peng is the highest scoring candidate in the first round exam in Chang'an City and ranked 11th in the second round exam in the Huaxia region, which made the man shocked because of Gao Peng's data. The man stand up and said he will show Gao Peng the way to the dorms. While walking, the man said someone gave all the monster trainers in all of the universities and Yuzhu all kinds of extravagant nicknames, but those nicknames are only used within universities and they're just for fun. If other people knew of them, they wouldn't approve of any of the nicknames. Then the man excitedly said except for 4 people. Those 4 people are the best monster trainer among all the universities in Yuzhu City and everyone in Yuzhu City acknowledged them because their abilities and fame greatly exceed the confines of a university. The man also said, of the 4 people, 2 are from Yuzhu University, 1 is senior brother Zhu Ming, who is now a permanent honorary member of the council of the base of Yuzhu. The other one is senior sister Lin Xinrui, who's a world huntress. Lin is not in Yuzhu most of the time, though most of the areas around Yuzhu were explored by her. Finally, they arrived at the student dorm. Gao Peng said the places looks quite luxurious. The man responded that the place has all single bedrooms, 1 student per room, and although there isn't a lot of space inside, the place is well furnished, and they all have air conditioning and a fridge. The place was donated by the chairman of Yuzhu University named Mr. Jai. Gao Peng asks who is Mr. Jai. The man pointed to the statue and said it was Mr. Jai's statue. The man explained Mr. Jai is the director of the Southern Sky Group, and the chairman's full name is Jai Huan, but the students call Jai Huan Mr. Jai. Mr. Jai is Yuzhu City's protector. Yuzhu City has been invaded quite a few times by dangerous monsters, but they were all pushed back by Jai Huan. Yuzhu City doesn't have a good geological position and they're surrounded by mountains, and ever since the cataclysm, there have been a lot of monsters. If it weren't for Jai Huan, they definitely wouldn't have been able to live as peacefully as they do now. Gao Peng thinks his grandfather really contributed a lot. Meanwhile, outside Yuzhu City, 4 people were walking in the forest. Suddenly the captain stopped her team, which made the man behind her shocked and asked what was wrong. Then the captain looks at his beast named Bebe, who currently shaking in fear. The captain wonders why Bebe is acting a bit weird, and she knows that there was only one time when Bebe acted like that before, and that's when a Lord tier monster had flown above their heads. Suddenly the forest shake uncontrollably, which made the captain panic and wonder what's happening. On the other hand, Gao Peng was looking in his room window while saying numerous monster hunters had gone missing in the mountains northeast of Yuzhu City. Then Gao Peng saw white flying in the sky while wondering if the situation had become so severe that White Dragon was needed to dispel the employees' anxiety. Level 5 martial law hasn't been imposed since Yuzhu City was established. Suddenly the house door opened, then Gao Peng run down the stair to welcome his grandfather. Jai Huan tells Gao Peng that Tang Tang Japalura was about to break through to Lord tier, and he just went and helped her a bit. Jai Huan also said Thunder God is at the peak of the Commander tier 2 and it should be able to break through to the Lord tier this time. Then Jai Huan sits on the sofa while Gao Peng walks with a teapot in his hand. Gao Peng asks Jai Huan if the evolution is successful. Jai Huan responded that it was successful and the changes to the Shadow Japalura were quite significant that Gao Peng might not even be able to recognize it. Gao Peng poured his grandfather some tea while asking his grandfather what about martial law. Jai Huan responded that it was a new type of monster. Gao Peng worriedly asks if there are still monsters that haven't been discovered. Jai Huan responded yes, and it isn't only them there in Yuzhu who are facing the problem. There are signs of change all over the world and there's something strange with the monsters. There are some scholars who think that the myths of the past are not entirely baseless, and some are even starting to research the ancient myths. Then Jai Huan handed a picture to Gao Peng while saying they were calling the monster Mountain Spirit. A top monster trainer went and took a photo of the monster's body. Its body is a mountain, a living mountain, which made Gao Peng confused and asked what his grandfather talking about. Jai Huan held Gao Peng's shoulder and responded that Gao Peng heard him right, a living mountain, but fortunately the size of the mountain spirit that has been discovered isn't that big. The largest one is only 300 meters high and it's more like a big hill than an actual mountain. And perhaps because of its size, the monster moves very slowly, but the surface of the monster's body has a high lethality. Jae-hyun also said they suspect that the missing monster hunters were killed when they accidentally entered the mountain while the monster there disguised as ordinary mountains. Jae-hyun walked to the stair while telling Gao Peng not to worry because he'll protect Gao Peng even if the sky falls, and those mountain spirits are intelligent, which means they can negotiate with them. But as last resort, simple explosives or carpet bombing would be able to blow up the monster mountains. Gao Peng just looks at his grandfather while thinking he's not like his grandfather because he's a selfish person and he doesn't want to sacrifice himself to save the world. Gao Peng also knows that he had never wanted his family to be so-called guardian angels, or heroes, because being a hero is very dangerous. Jae-hyun looked at Gao Peng to remind him that the Wanzai moon gold that Gao Peng asked him to keep an eye out for will be delivered in a few days. Gao Peng tells his grandfather not to worry about things and that he should go have some rest. Then Gao Peng looked at the umbrella that his grandfather used while thinking his grandfather gave him the forbidden magic stone, and the Wanzai moon gold for promoting dummy to legendary grade was also acquired by his grandfather and he doesn't even have to do anything. Then Gao Peng goes outside and opens the umbrella while thinking he has really fallen, and before, he had to hide his power to protect himself. Then Gao Peng walked into the rain while thinking he had his grandfather now, but the worsening situation doesn't allow him to sit back and waste time anymore, so he decided that he had to produce more reagents. A few days later, at Yuzhou University, Gao Peng was sitting in the room while behind him his two classmates were talking. One man asked the other man named Bingley what were the effects of the bloody butcher drug he bought the other day and did his black raging Kong evolved. Gao Peng was walking to go out of the classroom while Bingley responded to the man that the drug was pretty good. His black raging Kong's fur has changed to blood red and its strength increased a great deal. The only downside is its temper became worse. The man laughed and said who knows when the next series of drugs will be released. And things have been tense in current days. Also, everyone wants to become stronger. Gao Peng was walking in the school corridor while thinking the production of reagents is really fast. When he was outside the school building, his cell phone rang and he saw that his grandfather sent him a message. Gao Peng opened the message and saw a picture. Gao Peng said the picture looks like the hill they passed by last time. But he didn't see any stats of the mountain before and it's only been a few days. The mountain monster's name is Mountain Spirit. It was level 48 Lord tier in a normal grade and its attributes are natural, earth, and rock. The mountain spirit skills is level 4 earth mastery and its state is slightly injured and angry. Also, the mountain spirit's weaknesses are 1. The mountain spirit's heart is the source of its life and 2. Moves very slowly. Gao Peng said a level 48 Lord tier monster is a bit troublesome, and according to his grandfather, there isn't just one mountain spirit in Yuzhou City, not to mention the mountains around Yuzhou City are called the 100,000 Mountains. Suddenly Gao Peng advice gadget rang. Gao Peng answer it, expecting his grandfather, but the screen is just black and he wonder if isn't it a video call. Fortunately, Jae-hyun appeared on the screen but the video is not clear. Jae-hyun asked Gao Peng if he's still at school. Gao Peng responded his class just ended and is heading back now. Jae-hyun tried to say something but it was not clear. Gao Peng asks his grandfather where he is because his grandfather's signal is very bad. Jae-hyun said it's not surprising because he's at such a high altitude. Gao Peng asks Jae-hyun what did he said because he didn't hear him clearly. Jae-hyun tells Gao Peng to go home first and that he'll be back after his exercise. Then Jae-hyun hang up and shouted to his old friend White that they should show the mountain spirit what they've got. On the other hand, the military saw a destroyed mountain spirit. Then the other military riding their bird-type familiar said they arrived at their destination and everyone should descend. One military who currently standing on the mountain called his captain to tell that the mountain spirit core has been taken. The captain responded he heard him and they should continue taking samples and he'll report the situation to the headquarters. Meanwhile, the man was watching the soldier reporting that 1 hour ago, the mountain spirit number 1 was destroyed and had its core taken by Jai Hanwoo. The man watching responded good work. Then the man shouted to tell his other comrade that it was definitely Jae-hyun because he couldn't stand the attitude of the mountain spirit, so Jae-hyun stepped up for them. Then the man said how laughable of them to ask them to stop killing monsters or else they'll get rid of the human, especially when the expert they sent out found countless monster corpses on their own bodies. The man also said if the mountain spirit remained stubborn, they'll continue to show them what they were capable of, which made the other military courageous. The man shouted that Jae-hyun gave the mountain spirits a clear indication of where the humans stood and they are willing to negotiate, but they will not yield. The man said that is their bottom line, and Jae-hyun acted as the humans' representative when he delivered his punch to the mountain spirits. Then the man orders his comrades to continue sending their people out there because they must show to the mountain spirits who are in charge there. Meanwhile, in Southern Sky number 2 open air test site, the man tells Jai Hyun that regarding to the mountain spirit Jai Hyun defeated, the sampling works have been completed, and they will soon receive the results from the laboratory. The man also thanked Jai Hyun because the military said they'd managed to establish a temporary peace treaty. Jai Hyun stopped the man from talking and said once they gain consciousness and become sentient, they realize they possess great strength and they could easily destroy the lives of everything that lives near them, and they think they're all powerful and that they're the lords of the mountains. Jai Hyun also said that's why even though the mountain spirits possess intelligence, communication may not be possible. Only when the mountain spirits realize that their compatriots have fallen and that the mountain spirits are not invincible will they have room for negotiations. Then Jai Hyun said when facing a monster, sometimes fists are more effective than words, which made the man proud of Jai Hyun. The man pointed to the bird and called Jai Hyun to look while explaining that it was the Royal Mountain Wolf Bird Army they trained, and the Wolf Bird Army met their required standards. Then the man whistles to call the bird. The bird flies toward them while the man explains that it was the leader and its strength is much greater than the other Royal Mountain Wolf birds. Also, it's able to augment the entire Royal Mountain Wolf Bird Army. Jai Hyun ordered the man to test the Royal Mountain Wolf Bird's combat effectiveness, which made the man follow. The man opens a cage while explaining that the strength of the Royal Mountain Wolf Birds is absolutely beyond imagination, and he said he really wants to meet the person who created the royal reagent. The boar come out of the cage while the man explained that it was a commander tier swine type monster. Under normal circumstances, mountain wolf birds would never attack a monster of that level unless they outnumbered it at a ratio of at least 10,000 to 1 or if the birds were starving. Then the leader of the Royal Mountain Wolf Bird screamed, which made the other Royal Mountain Wolf Birds fly toward the boar. Then the birds attacked and bites the boar. The man excitedly said that isn't even the bird's limit, and if the Royal Mountain Wolf Birds continue to take the royal reagents, the bird's strength will continue to advance further. The man also said the person who invented the royal reagent is a genius. Jai Hyun responded that it was not bad and that they should keep up the good work. Jai Hyun looks at the lake while proudly thinking that his grandson is a genius and he had already sent the materials over to Gao Peng. Jai Hyun thinks Gao Peng should have started experimenting by now. On the other hand, Gao Peng was painting a circle on the ground, while confused dummy was inside of the hole in the center of the circle with some skeleton. Gao Peng said it's finally finished, but he thinks the setup is way too ominous. Then Gao Peng orders Silly, who is currently afraid, to hand him the box containing the Wanzai Moon Gold. Gao Peng grabbed the Wanzai Moon Gold while Silly was behind him shaking in fear. Gao Peng said as expected of super rare materials his whole body feels cool just by holding it. Then Gao Peng throws it to Dummy while ordering Dummy to swallow it. Dummy swallow the Wanzai Moon Gold, then Dummy release a strong blue aura which made Gao Peng blinded by the light and Silly shocked. Suddenly a white bone steel appeared at the place where Dummy was previously in. Then Gao Peng saw a shadow beside Silly, who was currently collapsed in fear. Then he saw many shadows in the other part of the place too, looking at the white bone steel. Then the shadows go to the steel and Gao Peng noticed that the spirits look like they were worshipping their king. Suddenly Dummy hand come out from inside the ground. Then Dummy showed itself while the data system said that Dummy Skeleton Tyrant evolution was successful. Dummy's new monster's name is Skeleton Tyrant. It was level 30 in legendary grade and its monster skills are Bone Hardened level 2 and Control of the Undead level 1. Gao Peng thinks Dummy's level has gone up a lot along with the increase in grade, and its level has increased by 4. Dummy's special characteristic is Blood Thread Heart. Effect 1, passive skill set uses a certain amount of blood threads to form a blood thread heart. When possessing a blood thread heart, the quality of all physical capabilities will be increased, and the passive effect is lost when the blood thread heart is destroyed. Effect 2. Activating the blood thread heart can trigger heartbeat resonance, which can be used to control the heartbeat of others in such a manner. Flame of the Undead. Effect 1. Active skill set inserting the flame of the undead into an intact corpse will resurrect it and transform it into a bone type undead, with strength proportional to how powerful it was while alive. But the resurrected undead cannot exceed the level of the Skeleton Tyrant. Effect 2. Undead resurrected by the flame of the undead can continue to grow, but cannot exceed the level of the Skeleton Tyrant, and the Skeleton Tyrant can absorb the resurrected undead for its own growth. Also, Dummy weakness is light type. While looking at Dummy data, Gao Peng thinks from the evolution pathway, Dummy gained a new skill. Flame of the Undead seems to be a type of summoning ability, except that it also has its limitations. A corpse is required or the ability will be useless, but the second skill effect, being able to absorb the energy of the resurrected undead for its own use, is indeed living up to the name of Tyrant. Daze asks Dummy why did Dummy become like that. Gao Peng happily looks at his beasts, While thinking before evolving, Dazai had to use all his strength for its mandibles to leave a mark on Dummy's bone, and Gao Peng said he don't know if Dummy's defenses have improved after the evolution, so the best way to test it out is to try. Then Gao Peng orders Dazai to give Dummy's thigh bone a good bite. Dazai fearfully responded that there was no need for him to bite Dummy. But Gao Peng tells Dazai that even though Dazai and Dummy have become closer, Dummy's aura after its promotion still scares him. Dazai shouted that he's not scared. Then Dazai bites Dummy thigh, which made one of Dazai's teeth falls out. Gao Peng, Dummy, Silly, and Dazai look at Dazai's teeth on the ground in silence for a moment. Then Dazai cried and run while saying everyone has become stronger except him and he can't protect Gao Peng anymore. Dummy looks at Gao Peng and tells Gao Peng that he'll go after Dazai. Gao Peng said epic grade Stripey, epic grade Flamey, legendary grade Dummy, and legendary grade Goldie. Only Silly is still in the same grade as Dazai. But Dazai isn't like Silly, who doesn't have the desire to become stronger and only cares about drinking juice every day. Gao Peng look at Dummy, who currently comforting the crying Dazai, and thinks it's too bad they don't have the materials to promote Dazai and Dazai just has to be patient. Then Gao Peng asks Dazai if Dazai is feeling insecure because all his friends have grown stronger. Then Gao Peng tells Dazai that whether Dazai is strong or not, he will always be his most important companion. Suddenly Gao Peng was shocked to see that Dummy easily comforted Dazai using food. A moment later, Gao Peng pointed to the dead dog and asked Dummy to show his summoning skill. Then Dummy uses his summoning skill on the dog. Then Dummy successfully summoned the spirit of the dog, while Gao Peng thinks his grandfather says that the corpse is a wind-chasing wolf. But no matter how he looks at it, it looks like a husky. A few moments later, Jai Huan asks Gao Peng if Gao Peng wants to go out to look for materials for his little centipede. Gao Peng explained that Dazai is his first familiar, but because they haven't found any suitable materials, Dazai is the weakest, so he wants to try to promote it since he has some free time lately. Jai Huan thinks for a second and tells Gao Peng not to hang around in the forest for too long because the situation with the mountain spirits is currently stable, but monsters are known for going back on their words. Then Jai Huan grabs his cell phone and tells Gao Peng that Tang Tang is free nowadays, so he should let her join on his trip. Gao Peng tried to refuse, but his grandfather turned around and called Tang Tang, leaving Gao Peng to wonder why his grandfather always treated him like a kid. A moment later, Jai Huan, Gao Peng, and his beasts are looking at the sky. Then Jai Huan said she is there. Tang Tang Bird and Japalura landed on the ground. Japalura's new monster's name is Phantom Japalura. It was level 41 Lord tier in excellent grade and its skill are hardened scales level 3. And heightened dynamic vision level 1. Japalura's special characteristic is Shadow Assassin. Passive effect 1 said when it is still or moving slowly, it will blend in with its surroundings perfectly by matching both color and body temperature to its surroundings. Passive effect 2 said its special skin allows it to absorb sound as well as vibrations, allowing it to move silently and remain almost undetectable. Gao Peng said Japalura is just like a giant dragon from Western mythology. On the other hand, Goldie was looking at Tang Tang Bird in amazed and said it's so cool. And they have the same aura. The bird looked at Goldie, which made Goldie shocked and fear. Then it hides behind Flamey's back, leaving its dress feather in its place. Gao Peng, who witnessed Goldie's action, laugh and thinks Tang Tang mentioned before that the blood-eye bearded vulture had to rely on manic training in order to break through to Lord tier, and it became strong by testing its limits. But Goldie became strong by getting hit. Gao Peng also thinks he would have been surprised if the blood-eye bearded didn't detest Goldie. Tang Tang greets Gao Peng, long time no see. Gao Peng shyly said Tang Tang has become prettier. Suddenly she grabs Gao Peng collar and lifts Gao Peng up with one hand while telling Gao Peng that Jai Huan has already told her the details, so they should go. Then she throws Gao Peng to the blood-eye bearded backs. Then Japalura grabs confused Dummy. Then they started to fly. Gao Peng shouted that he haven't gathered his other familiars. Tang Tang responded that they were not out to play house and asked Gao Peng what the point of bringing so many familiars, and they'll be back in a jiffy. Jai Huan waved to Tang Tang and Gao Peng, who currently flying, and tells them to stay safe. A moment later, Tang Tang looked at the map on the phone while asking Gao Peng if they were in the first location. When Gao Peng didn't answer, she looked at shaking Gao Peng. Then Gao Peng responded that she was correct, and Gao Peng said last time he had to run around the jungle for a few days to finally reach his destination, but it only took her half an hour. Tang Tang walks toward the lake while asking Gao Peng if someone discovers lightning moths around the lake. Gao Peng responded that lightning moths like to live in damp and dark environments, and there has to be an abundant source of electricity close by. Then Gao Peng scratched his head, while wondering where should they start searching, and he knew he should have brought Dazai along because Dazai is an electric-type monster, so it'd be more sensitive to the presence of electric elements. Then Gao Peng looked at Dummy. Dummy understands Gao Peng. Then Dummy used his summoning skill, then throws it into the lake. Many skeleton fish pop out, which made Gao Peng shocked and tells Dummy that it was a mass resurrection. Dummy tells Gao Peng that the soul skeleton fishes can help him find whatever he's looking for. Gao Peng tells Dummy to order the soul fishes to pick up anything from the bottom of the lake that has a high concentration of spiritual energy, since Silly's portable space is quite big. Tang Tang elbowed Gao Peng while asking Gao Peng if his little skeleton can resurrect monsters. Gao Peng responded yes and said it was Dummy's new skill. Tang Tang said it was a pretty useful skill. Then she asked if Dummy isn't already on the close combat evolutionary path and why Dummy obtain a summoning type skill, because it's not good to have such a jumbled skill set. Gao Peng responded that he hadn't thought about it back then, since promoting a familiar to legendary grade is once in a lifetime opportunity, and he wasn't in a position to be picky. Tang Tang tells Gao Peng that he had a good mentality, and Gao Peng is right, because reaching a legendary grade is more important. Only think about the less important things once he becomes stronger. As a legendary grade monster, Dummy power also has to be legendary level. There are no limits to Dummy's Flame of the Undead skill, meaning it could even bring about a zombie apocalypse if it wanted to, and just the skill itself proves that Dummy is indeed legendary grade. A few minutes later, the soul fishes are back handling different things. Gao Peng said the fishes are back, but the fishes mostly brought back sundries. Then Gao Peng saw the two fish handling the item named Water Spirit Stone, low purity. The item description said a stone that contains high levels of water elements can easily form a vein in the ground and can easily absorb. Also, it has a wide variety of uses. Gao Peng thinks it seems like there's a vein of water spirit stone at the bottom of the lake, but the stone's low purity level suggests that the vein has formed only recently. Then Gao Peng tells Dummy that it looks like there's nothing else in the lake, so Dummy should let his little friends rest, but the discovery of the vein of the water spirit stone is indeed surprising. Then Dummy get his summoning skill back, which made Dummy level increase to level 31. Gao Peng was shocked to see Dummy increase to level 31, and wonder if absorbing the energy of resurrected skeletons is that effective. Suddenly the forest ground shake. Tang Tang said there was a mountain spirit nearby. Then she throws Gao Peng again to the back of the Blood-Eye Bearded. Then they fly away. While flying, Gao Peng saw the mountain spirit behind them and said he didn't feel anything when the mountain spirit is dead, but he wonders why the mountain spirit looks so scary now that it has consciousness. Gao Peng also said he bet those with weaker hearts would have a nervous breakdown right away, though he too immediately ran away at the sight of the mountain spirits. The mountain spirit said humans. Then Gao Peng tells Tang Tang that he thinks the mountain spirit is calling them, but she didn't hear Gao Peng and asked what did he say. Gao Peng pointed to the mountain spirit and said he thinks the mountain spirit said it wants to bargain. Gao Peng thinks it was a pleasant surprise because no one knew they would receive information regarding the treasure from a mountain spirit. Lightning Belpine is an evolutionary path called the Six-Winged Thunder Centipede. After evolving, Dazai would be able to fly, making Dazai more agile. The mountain spirit tells them that he wants to bathe him in blood and he will tell them where the treasure lies. Gao Peng knows the mountain spirit was talking about its cavity, but there don't seem to be any powerful monsters there for a mountain spirit to be afraid of. Suddenly Gao Peng saw something inside the mountain. The monster named Armadillo showed itself. It was level 32 commander tier in a normal grade and its attributes are earth and gold. The Armadillo ability is Earth Walking level 2 and its weakness is fire. The mountain spirit said there are a lot of armadillo down there, which made Gao Peng wonder if the armadillos are the mountain spirit's weakness. Gao Peng said according to the legend armadillos can travel freely beneath the earth and the armadillos that they have evolved must have a more powerful version of the ability. But for a gigantic Lord tier mountain spirit to be weakened by commander tier armadillo, Gao Peng feels it too surreal. Gao Peng remembers his grandfather saying before that the mountain spirits rely on their special senses like some brain waves or something to scan their surrounding for living beings. So Gao Peng wonders would a mountain spirit really be afraid of a small armadillo. Tang Tang orders her Blood-Eye Breaded Bird to smoke the armadillo out. Then the Blood-Eye Bearded ready its skill, then attack the armadillo. Then the Blood-Eye Breaded launched down to where was the armadillo, while Gao Peng was panicking and shouting to tell Tang Tang that he's still on the Blood-Eye Bearded back. The Blood-Eye Breaded grabbed the armadillo, then drop it into the hand of the mountain spirit. The mountain spirit slowly closed its hand and crushed the armadillo. Tang Tang tells the mountain spirit that she given the armadillo to him. Then she asked the mountain spirit if it can tell where they can find a lightning bell pine. But the mountain spirit responded that one armadillo is not enough. Tang Tang tells the mountain spirit to tell her where the lightning bell pine is first and she'll help him catch more armadillo. She also asks the mountain spirit what if he goes back on his word later. The mountain spirit responded that the lightning bell pine is in the east and he still needs 4 more armadillos. Then Tang Tang said she hoped the mountain spirit is a good monster that keeps its promises. Then she ordered Blood-Eye to continue attacking the armadillos, which made Gao Peng shocked. Then blood eyes fly toward the other armadillos while Gao Peng restrains himself to vomit. The armadillos use their skill to make a hole. Then the armadillos get into the hole, which made Gao Peng shouted to tell Tang Tang that the armadillos are going underground. Tang Tang tells Gao Peng to move aside. Then Japalura drops Dummy and Silly to the sky while Tang Tang jumps toward Gao Peng, which made Gao Peng shocked. Then she landed in the back of Blood Eye, while Dummy and Silly were caught by Blood Eye. Tang Tang ordered Japalura to attack, which Japalura immediately followed. Then Japalura launched inside of the mountain spirit. Then throw out the armadillos one by one. Gao Peng saw one armadillo had 3 heads, and he thinks even a commander 3-headed armadillo couldn't escape from a very brutal Japalura. Then Tang Tang asks the mountain spirit if it can tell them the complete location of the lightning bell pine. The mountain spirit responded that the thing they were looking for is on a cliff 5 mountains away to the east. Tang Tang tells the mountain spirit that his better not be lying. Then she orders Japalura to go to the lightning bell pine location and search for it. While the mountain spirits responded that the mountain spirits never lie, which made Gao Peng and Tang Tang laugh sarcastically. 10 minutes later, Gao Peng saw Japalura flying back to them and tells Tang Tang that Japalura is back. Japalura arrives while holding a tree of lightning bell pine. She looked at Gao Peng to ask if it was the materials he needed. Gao Peng responded yes. Then Tang Tang, Gao Peng, and their familiar started to fly away, while she tells the mountain spirit that it was a pleasure doing business with it. While flying to go home, Tang Tang said the mountain spirit should be at least a lord tier. Then she asked why would the mountain spirit crave the commander tier armadillo's meat. Gao Peng responded he's not sure, and that maybe there's something in the armadillo's meat that helps the mountain spirits evolve. Or maybe there's something that affects the mountain spirit buried in the ground where the armadillos live. On the surface, the mountain spirit wanted them to catch the armadillos to satisfy its hunger, but perhaps the mountain spirit just wanted them to get rid of the armadillos to whatever is buried in the ground all for itself. Tang Tang laughs and tells Gao Peng that they haven't met in so long, and Gao Peng is already thinking like a wily old fox. Then she asks Gao Peng why don't they take the thing that the mountain spirit hiding for themselves. Gao Peng responded that it was all just a guess. Beside, they got what they came for and they shouldn't be too greedy, but Gao Peng knows there was always a next time. A few moments later, in the industrial area outside Yuju City, the factory director named Zhao welcomed Gao Peng and Jai Huan to the factory. Then Zhao leads the way to where they process the monster bones. They arrived at the processing place while Zhao explained that they don't normally throw away the bones, and normally they either ground the bones into nutrient-rich bone powder or fed the bones directly to the familiars. Gao Peng looked at the bone while thinking dummy requires skeletons that are over 3/4 complete in order to bring the soul back to life, but most of the bones in the factory don't fit the criteria. Then Gao Peng asks Zhao if the bones Zhao have in the factory are always so crushed. Zhao responded in wonder if the bone there aren't whole to Gao Peng. Jai Huan seriously tells Zhao that from today onwards, he needs to try to maintain the integrity of the bones when processing them, to which Zhao immediately agrees. On the other hand, Gao Peng asks Dummy if it remembers the way there because, from tomorrow onwards, Dummy will go there and bring all of the skeletons in the facility back to life and absorb the flames of the undead from them. Gao Peng also said he taught Dummy a few times, so Dummy should already know the steps, to which Dummy responded yes. Jai Huan asks Gao Peng if Dummy can evolve just by absorbing the flames of the undead and if he is sure that he don't need him to help him search for other materials. Gao Peng thanked his grandfather and said he don't need any other materials, and although the method is a little ethically questionable, as long as it works, then he has no qualms about using that method. Jai Huan held Gao Peng's shoulder and tells him that there was no need to be so polite with him and that now that Dummy is settled, the ingredients for the little centipede's evolution will be arriving tomorrow, and he'll leave the rest to him. Gao Peng tells his grandfather to let him accompany him on a walk, to which Jai Huan said Gao Peng is so cheesy and he doesn't need that. Then Jai Huan asked Gao Peng what's the tree they brought back. Gao Peng responded that it was the lightning bell pine and its fruit can evolve Da Zai into a flying type familiar. Jai Huan said it was not bad. Then Gao Peng tell his grandfather that he realized having a lord tier flying type familiar is incredibly convenient, and if he have one or two of them it would be great. A day later, Gao Peng was walking to the backyard while holding a box and calling for Da Zai. Gao Peng tells Da Zai to come out because it's time for Da Zai evolution. Da Zai immediately pops out of the tree and asks if he hears evolution. Gao Peng showed the box to Da Zai and said the ingredients for its evolution have arrived. Then Gao Peng said they should go to the laboratory, and Da Zai is happily following Gao Peng while singing and saying the word evolution continuously. They arrived at the laboratory. Gao Peng was looking at the golden-winged cicadas while saying he'll first need to prepare a special solution using the golden-winged cicadas, then he'll let Da Zai soak in it. Gao Peng also said he should have asked his grandfather for an assistant yesterday. Suddenly someone said hello behind him, which made him shocked. The girl introduces herself as Zhu Qingjai and she said she's Gao Peng's assistant. Gao Peng thinks the high hairline of King Jai looks familiar. Then Gao Peng asks King Jai what her relationship with Professor Zhu from the company's research facility. King Jai responded that Zhu is his uncle, and although she hasn't graduated yet, she has been a member of the student council's monster breeder department since she enrolled, so he doesn't have to worry about her skills. Gao Peng said okay and tells King Jai to not just stand there and come to his place because he'll teach her how to handle the golden-winged cicadas, to which King Jai immediately followed. When King Jai was near, Gao Peng held one of the golden-winged cicada and a knife on the table. Then Gao Peng showed and explained that first, King Jai need to pierce the head with a hammer, then use a knife. She has to be quick, steady, and precise when she pierces the golden-winged cicada, and importantly, she shouldn't hesitate. Otherwise, it will struggle and damage its wings. Gao Peng also said when King Jai takes off the golden-winged cicada wings, she shouldn't rush and it's okay to be a little slow because she needs to find the golden-winged cicada joints and use the knife to gently detach it. Then Gao Peng showed the wing to King Jai while saying she can detach a complete wing that way and she should give it a try, while King Jai is clapping and Da Zai is secretly eating the gold-winged cicada in the side. King Jai tries the process while Gao Peng is looking at her. He wonders if she's his researcher Zhu's niece, so that means King Jai's dad and uncle are both key executives of the Southern Sky Group. Gao Peng also thinks most of the things that happen in his laboratory are classified, so his grandfather surely sent over someone trustworthy. Then King Jai happily tells Gao Peng that she did it, to which Gao Peng thinks the more he sees, the more King Jai looks like a silly girl who just has a smart face, while Da Zai is secretly grabbing the golden-winged cicada in the side. A few moments later, King Jai presents all the wings she detaches and tells Gao Peng that she's finished. Gao Peng seriously looked at the wings, which made King Jai nervous. Then Gao Peng said she was not bad and she passed, which made King Jai and Da Zai happy and high five. Then Gao Peng tells King Jai that since she's done, she can go now, which made King Jai confused and shocked. But Gao Peng just throws King Jai out of the laboratory. Then Gao Peng stretches his hand while saying he will begin. Gao Peng put the wings into the big tube with a green mixture and add the fruit of the lightning bell pine. Then the solution is ready. Gao Peng ordered Da Zai to jump in the solution. Da Zai immediately and excitedly jumps into the tube with a solution. On the other hand, outside the laboratory, King Jai was shocked to feel the laboratory shake and saw thunder inside the laboratory. Then King Jai angrily said she wished that Gao Peng, who is a heartless and ungrateful bastard, gets struck by lightning. On the other hand, inside the laboratory, Gao Peng shouted that Da Zai evolution is a success while he was looking at Da Zai behind the fog. Da Zai's new monster name is a 6-winged thunder centipede. It was level 28 in epic grade and its attribute is electric. Its ability is Thunder Mastery level 2 and its weakness said its heart lies in its 7th body segment, and hitting it there will render its whole body limp and numb. Da Zai's special characteristic is Thunder Wings. Effect 1 passive effect said increases its flying speed and wing beat frequency to the point that it can affect its enemy's senses by producing a thunderous noise with its wings. The effect of said noise is dependent on its wing beat frequency. Effect 2 passive effect said the Thunder Wings effect will gradually strengthen all of the monster's wings. At first, it will only have one pair of thunder wings, but all its wings will be transformed into thunder wings later on, and that process is irreversible. Thunder wings are sturdier and sharper than normal wings. Also, Da Zai's possible legendary evolution pathways are 1. Dragonblood evolution, 2. Strom evolution, 3. Darkness evolution, and 4. Ancestral evolution. Gao Peng tells Da Zai that he looks good. Da Zai proudly responded that now is Gao Peng's strongest familiar. Then Gao Peng said Dummy should have arrived at the slaughterhouse by now and he wonder how it was going. Meanwhile, at the factory, Dummy summoning the soul of the undead, then many different souls of monsters pop out. On the other hand, in the surveillance room, Zhao turns off the computer and tells the man watching the CCTV to pretend that he didn't see anything today. Then Zhao orders the man to delete that footage, and from now on, he needs to turn off the cameras every time Dummy is inside the slaughterhouse, to which the man immediately agrees. On the other hand, Dummy raises his hand and absorbs all the souls of the monsters there, then Dummy smiled while his body absorbs the souls. After Dummy fully absorbed the souls, he pressed the machine in the wall. Then the factory worker tells his workmate to hurry and send down the next batch of the bones. His workmate tried to stop the man, but the man tells to not ask questions and just do what has been told. Meanwhile, in Yuzhou University, Gao Peng was walking outside the school building while thinking Da Zai's level is 28 now and Dummy has increased by 2 levels after coming back from the slaughterhouse. So Dummy is now level 33. At that rate, Dummy should be able to reach Lord Tier before the World Youth Trainer Championships. Suddenly someone called Gao Peng and asked if he had time. Gao Peng saw Jun Moi while wondering when did Moi get there because Moi scared him. Moi tells Gao Peng that the Students' Association just discovered a new type of monster. Then she asks Gao Peng if he wants to come and take a look at it. Gao Peng responded that he's interested, then he asked Moi if it would be alright for non-members to come. Moi responded that the commission is from one of the seniors at their university, and the Students' Association is just helping those seniors to find trainers who can help. Gao Peng said then it won't be a problem if he come. Then Gao Peng turned around to Moi and he tells Moi to lead the way. But Moi looked at him confused and pointed in the other direction, then said this is the way. A few minutes later, in a buffet restaurant near Yuzhou University, Gao Peng and Moi were looking at the one depressed man and the two other men talking at the table. Gao Peng whispered to ask Moi if the depressed man is the one who made the discovery. Then Gao Peng said the man looks very haggard. Moi responded that she was also dragged there by someone else and she tells Gao Peng that they should hear what the man has to say first. The other man stand up and said the man's name is Senior Lai Yu who graduated from Yuzhou University. The man beside Lai Yu tells Lai Yu that everyone have arrived now. Then the man asks Lai Yu to tell them the situation. Lai Yu said it's been a month now and is too afraid to go back home at night. Lai Yu said he hadn't paid attention to it when he first heard the weird bickering, and Lai Yu said he was even interested to listen to it. The bickering continued for a few days until he finally remembered that he's living on the top floor, and there was no one living above his floor. Lai Yu said he went to check with his earthen golden retriever and he could still hear the intense bickering from behind the door to the rooftop. But the moment he opened the door there was no one on the rooftop and the rooftop was quiet and empty. Lai Yu also said he couldn't see a single soul, which made the other girls in fear. The man tells Lai Yu not to worry because there are many of them gathered there today and they even have familiars. So even if there's a ghost, they'll scare it off with their numbers. Lai Yu responded that it would be great. Gao Peng tells Goldie that at the first sight of trouble, Goldie should carry him out of the rooftop and run as fast as Goldie's legs can carry him. Goldie responded he can't carry Gao Peng because he is just a duck. Gao Peng looked at Goldie while remembering that Goldie is the only duck he knows who can snap a tree in two with a single kick. The night come, Gao Peng and his other schoolmates arrived at Lai Yu building apartment. Lai Yu pointed to one room and tells to everyone that his house is in front. Gao Peng thinks he doesn't see anything out of ordinary and there's no black fog or mysterious sounds he'd imagined there'd be. Then Gao Peng look at Moi who currently petting her beasts. Then Gao Peng asks Moi where's her black anaconda. Moi responded that it's too big to bring around the city and Yuzhou's streets are a lot narrower than Chang'an's. Lai Yu waves his hand to Gao Peng and Moi to tell them to hurry up. A moment later, Lai Yu opened his apartment door and called his familiar named. The other students smell something inside Lai Yu room. Then Moi said it's the smell of a rooting corpse, which made everyone shocked. Suddenly, Lai Yu shouted the name of his familiar loudly. Then Lai Yu also shouted that it was his fault and he shouldn't have been left him at home alone. The man said if the monster killed a familiar, that means it was aggressive and not weak either. The other man asked if they should let the police handle the situation. The other man is also persistent to check it and said the monster probably isn't high level. Otherwise, the monsters wouldn't be lurking in the shadows like a coward. The man also asked the other man if he was scared of dying and said he had dealt with more dangerous monsters and the monster is nothing. Gao Peng just looked at his schoolmates and said his schoolmates are just a disappointment. Suddenly, the room light turned off and a few moments later, one of Gao Peng's schoolmates were running to get out of the room while begging to help him. Gao Peng asked the man what was going on inside the room. Suddenly Gao Peng saw a big hand reaching for his running schoolmate.